There was once a beautiful pink-haired princess living in a grand, towering castle. Having reached marriageable age, she attracts many suitors bearing rings and red roses. Tradition dictates the princess must be trapped in a tower until a prince saves her. Her blue-haired father and pink-haired mother weep over the cruel, forced separation. Stern advisors insist the king must strictly follow the kingdom's ancient marriage traditions. The king worries about the character and quality of his future son-in-law. He resolves to find the absolute best groom for his daughter through this trial. The pink-haired princess prepares for her isolation wearing a beautiful white wedding gown. A fierce red dragon breathes fire while the parents justify their daughter's confinement. Days turn into weeks as the princess waits longingly on her high tower balcony. Now 28 and unmarried, Princess Alina of Aurelia drinks wine in bored solitude. Her parents check on her well-being through a magical, floating, ornate mirror. They ask for news of her rescue while a small jester laughs mockingly. The jester predicts Alina will die as a forgotten old virgin in her tower. Alina orders the truth-telling clown to be silenced as he mentions the future. Snow White from a neighboring kingdom announces her own prince has finally arrived. Alina hides her envy and offers her sincere congratulations to the happy couple. Snow White expresses sympathy, hoping a wonderful prince will eventually find Alina too. Left alone again, Alina maintains a gentle smile, despite her growing loneliness. Haunted by the jester's cruel predictions, Alina struggles to sleep through strange noises. She frantically tries to push away her dark thoughts with happy daydreams. Alina imagines adventuring with pirates and traveling with mermaids beneath the deep blue sea. A soft, rhythmic knock sounding interrupts the sleeping princess's rest in the dark room. A sudden, heavy grunt sounding makes Alina sit up in bed, startled and alert. Terrified, the pink-haired woman demands to know who is outside her chamber door. A voice from behind the heavy wooden door announces her long-awaited rescue. Alina's eyes sparkle with renewed hope as she welcomes her mysterious savior. He introduces himself as Louise, the fifth prince of the distant Frelid kingdom. Alina feels a wave of confusion regarding this obscure kingdom she has never heard of. Louise provides an exhaustive and detailed history of his small, poor northern homeland. A sharp click sounding occurs as Alina eagerly opens the door for her prince. A blonde-haired man with facial scars stands amidst a magical aura of white roses. The two stare at each other in a moment of quiet, mutual disbelief. The pink-haired princess and the scarred prince share an intense, silent gaze. They exchange formal bows and polite greetings to acknowledge their long-awaited meeting. Kneeling before her, Louise presents a small ring to the princess in a proposal. He carefully slides the simple band onto her finger to finalize their engagement. Alina stares at the ring, overcome with emotion as she accepts him as her prince. Internally, her expression turns wicked as she rejoices at finally escaping her tower. Louise presents a contract for her signature, sensing her hidden and desperate motivations. A pile of legal scrolls, including marriage registration forms, sits ready for her signature. A loud gurgle sounding from her stomach punctuates their serious discussion about marriage. Another gurgle sounding from the prince prompts them to eat before finalizing any paperwork. A massive spread of roasted meat, pancakes, and sweets is prepared for their meal. The blonde prince devours the food ravenously, his eyes shining with pure appreciation. Alina watches him from across the table, urging him to eat more slowly. She notices the deep scars and bandages covering his battered hands as he eats. Alina envisions the massive red dragon he had to slaughter to reach her tower. A heavy swallow sounding follows her grim realization of the brutal battle he fought. Alina contemplates why he would endure such immense hardship just to rescue her. The pink-haired princess imagines a joyful public wedding tomorrow after leaving the castle. Alina wonders if the blonde prince likes her as he sleeps after his meal. The pink-haired princess stands alone, her expression unreadable against a soft blue sky. She reflects on her long captivity, likening her trapped soul to an empty birdcage. Alina and the scarred prince lie together, sharing a quiet moment of newfound companionship. A sense of wonder fills Alina as they descend a spiral stone staircase together. Passing a massive red dragon, Alina holds her breath and wonders if it is sleeping. She gazes at the prince's back, questioning how such a slender man defeated the dragon. Alina walks behind her husband-to-be, marveling at his hidden capability and strength. As Louise scans the area nervously, he dismisses Alina's question about who he's seeking.
A purple-haired witch appears suddenly, begging the blonde prince not to leave her.
Panic strikes Alina as she wonders why a witch has appeared to challenge the prince. The crying witch accuses Louise of abandonment, leaving the princess completely stunned and confused. Louise apologizes to the witch, insisting he must leave despite the princess's total bewilderment. Consumed by rage and heartbreak, the purple-haired witch vows to curse the blonde prince. A quick pat sounding echoes as the witch watches the couple flee from her sight. Louise expresses pity for the sad witch, while Alina stares at him in blank shock. Horrified by the recent turn of events, Alina questions the reality of what she witnessed. Fearful of a breakup, Alina grows frantic as Louise prepares to share an honest truth. Alina laughs nervously, finding his vow of love even more surprising than the witch's appearance. Kneeling before her, the prince swears to protect the pink-haired princess with his life. Alina reaches out, promising to repay the grace of her rescue for her entire life. Louise reminds her of their impending marriage, though his gaze remains heavy and serious. A loud pung sounding erupts into a pink flash as the couple finally joins hands. Alina spots a way out, urgently pointing toward the exit of the gloomy hall. A rhythmic tadak sounding of footsteps accompanies their final dash toward a bright, sunlit doorway. Stepping into the light, Alina gazes at the sky, breathless at her first taste of freedom. Tears of joy well in her blue eyes as she realizes she is finally outside. A sharp turn sounding occurs as the princess spins around happily to answer the prince's call. Her smile vanishes instantly, replaced by a look of sheer, frozen horror at what she sees. Alina stares down at the ground where a small, blonde figure now sits in oversized clothes. A young blonde child looks up in confusion, wondering what has happened to his body. The princess remains paralyzed by shock as the reality of the situation sinks in. The purple-haired witch stares with intense, glowing yellow eyes as her curse takes hold. Alina recalls the moment she pointed out the exit, now tinged with a sense of dread. A quick tadak sounding follows the memory of Louise questioning his future outside the tower. Louise remembers being commanded to follow orders without thought, a dark prediction of his future. A sudden whick sounding accompanies Alina turning back to the blonde man she once knew. An involuntary umjil sounding of a flinch occurs as Alina reacts to a sudden, surprising presence. A dizzying huichang sounding overcomes Alina as she panics over the prince's sudden, massive transformation. A heavy quang sounding of a realization hits the child prince as he sees his reflection. The memory of the witch's curse haunts the scene, proving her magical threat was real. A muffled puffed sounding follows the de-aged prince's loud, desperate cry of disbelief. Alina asks if he is joking, while the de-aged Louise offers a small, sheepish apology. His adult clothes and boots lie discarded on the grass, far too large for his new body. A soft, holjuk sounding of weeping follows as Alina tries to soothe the de-aged, sobbing prince. A rhythmic, hum sounding of a sob interrupts Louise as he struggles with his uncontrollable tears. The princess watches in horror as the blonde prince begins wailing like a helpless child. A sharp ache sounding of a tantrum erupts as Louise fears he will never return. A sudden bullsock sounding occurs as Alina tries to distract the sniffing child with something new. Alina presents a jar of the kingdom's most famous candy to the de-aged prince. A soft holjuk sounding of a sniffle accompanies Louise as he tastes the colorful candy. The child prince expresses his utter amazement at the delicious taste while Alina laughs happily. Alina grows concerned, questioning if his kingdom was too poor to ever provide him candy. Louise suddenly insists on returning to the witch to apologize and reverse the curse. A soft holjuk sounding follows as the child prince cries and shakes his head. A heavy quang sounding of an explosion occurs as Alina pulls the prince to safety. Riding her dragon, the witch declares it is too late as Alina stares in shock. Louise despairs that in his child body, no one will believe he rescued the princess. Alina realizes her rescue has turned into a tragedy for her savior on her happiest day. Despite his sadness, the de-aged prince smiles, happy that the princess is finally free. A soft holchuk sounding follows as Alina resolves not to abandon the crying child. Standing tall, the princess firmly orders the de-aged prince to get up. Louise looks up in surprise as Alina invites him to return to her kingdom. Alina reminds the boy that he is the hero who rescued her from her solitude. She looks back with a determined gaze, promising to repay the grace of her rescue.
Alina confidently points to herself, claiming they already have all the evidence they need.
Legal documents, including a rescue certificate and marriage contract, sit ready on the grass. A rhythmic hum sounding of a clearing throat follows Alina's awkward proposal to break the curse. The de-aged prince stares up at her, finding a small spark of hope.
Louise clutches the marriage contract to his chest with a soft, emotional smile.
Rallied by hope, Alina prepares to leave, but stops to retrieve a forgotten item. She proudly presents a magic mirror used to call the kingdom for a pickup. They peer into the mirror together, only for Alina to notice a strange problem. A sudden panic strikes Alina as she realizes they are doomed without a signal. She explains the mirror requires a specific MiFi connection found only in magical circles. Slumped in defeat, the pair realizes all their hope has suddenly vanished. Carrying a massive backpack, Alina leads the de-aged Louise down a forest path. She reassures the prince that traveling west will eventually lead them to their destination. Dark, shadowy figures crouch on tree branches, watching the travelers with predatory eyes. Pointed-eared silhouettes surround the pair as they walk deeper into the woods. A purple eye peers through the branches, identifying the pair as unwelcome intruders. A weathered sign warns travelers that this is a dangerous area filled with elves. A collection of snapshots captures the many emotional and cute expressions of child Louise. The de-aged prince looks up with wide eyes and clutches his papers tightly. The scene shifts to a different blonde woman praying in a grand, sunlit church. Alina and Louise continue their trek, unaware of the hostile shadows in the trees. Alina looks up at the dense canopy, noting the sheer size of the forest. Trying to cheer him up, Alina likens their journey to an exciting childhood adventure game. Louise remains silent and crumbling, making Alina realize her excitement might be insensitive. A heavy realization hits Alina as she panics over ignoring the prince's feelings. She notices the contrast between her happiness and the prince's deep depression. Alina resolves to change the heavy atmosphere through a friendly conversation. She turns to Louise and asks why he specifically decided to rescue her. Alina wonders why he chose her over many other wealthier or closer princesses. Louise looks down and admits he only came because his brother told him to. Stunned by his unexpected answer, Alina finds his blunt honesty strangely refreshing. A soft smile appears on the face of the de-aged prince. Overwhelmed by his cuteness, Alina covers her mouth and squeals in delight. Louise looks up in confusion as the princess stares at him with sparkling eyes. Reflecting on her rescue, Alina doubts her value and fears her kingdom prefers her gone. She dismisses the dark thought of a family conspiracy as a melodramatic fantasy from her captivity. Panic turns into annoyance as Alina scolds the shivering, terrified child prince for his fear. A sharp crash sounding occurs when Louise asks a question about the princess's actual age. Feeling insulted by his wit, Alina reveals her deep insecurity about being past her prime. Louise gazes at his tiny hands, realizing his physical power has completely vanished with his age. He mourns his delicate skin and inability to even wield a standard weapon with one hand. To the small prince, the towering trees of the forest seem unnaturally large and imposing. Darkness surrounds the de-aged hero as he feels the immense pressure of his situation weighing him down. Despite his physical weakness, Louise reaffirms his solemn vow to return the princess safely. Alina remains oblivious to his inner turmoil, easily distracted by the beauty of a tree squirrel. While Alina enjoys nature, Louise remains dedicated to his secret mission of being her protector. A loud nose-blowing sounding comes from the small, red dragon sitting nearby. Back at the tower, Isabel wails about losing her perfect, handsome prince to another woman. The dragon agrees that the prince was indeed Isabel's perfect, handsome, ideal type. Overwhelmed by heartbreak, the purple-haired witch erupts into another fit of loud, desperate wailing. The red dragon tries to comfort Isabel by pointing out the prince's happiness in the kingdom. Isabel grows more hysterical, lamenting that the curse she cast was far too severe and unintended. The dragon questions if Isabel's tears are for her lost love or the broken curse. Horror strikes the witch as she realizes her magic has created an unbreakable fate for Louise. Alina stops her joyful walking to ask if the child prince is feeling uncomfortable or ill. Louise waves his hands frantically, desperate to hide any sign of his growing physical struggle. They continue their journey through the woods, with Alina offering to help if problems arise. Looking at the back of the prince's head, Alina's perspective on him begins to shift. Squealing in delight, the pink-haired princess finds the prince's new form utterly and undeniably adorable. A bright flash of energy accompanies Alina's realization that cute things are simply irresistible. She compares his former noble wolf appearance to his current cute dog persona with sparkling eyes. Obsessed with his soft features, Alina struggles to maintain her composure while walking behind him. Alina stands behind the prince, her mind racing with thoughts of his small, lovely limbs. The pair stops abruptly when they spot a strange white item lying on the dirt path. Alina turns to the prince with a look of mounting concern and deep confusion. Tears well in Alina's eyes as she picks up the tiny, discarded white garment from the ground. A loud screaming sounding erupts from the prince as he realizes his clothing has failed him. Alina explains that his underwear fell off, while the prince reacts with a dizzying panic. A wave of pity washes over Alina for the prince's loss of basic dignity and attire. Watching from a branch, local squirrels label the princess a pervert for her strange behavior. In a simplistic drawing, Alina tries to act pure, while Louise feels oddly dignified and regal. The two travelers continue their trek through the dense, sun-dappled greenery of the vast forest. A quick turn sounding occurs as Louise trips, prompting a frantic cry of worry from Alina. A sharp cut on his bare foot proves the forest floor is far too harsh. Alina kneels in apology, realizing she neglected the prince's lack of protective footwear during their walk. Louise looks down in shame, lamenting his new role as a burden and a nuisance. Determined to solve the problem, Alina prepares to take an active role in their difficult travel. The prince blushes and refuses her help, clinging to his last shards of masculine pride. Alina raises her voice, insisting that being carried is the only way to proceed safely. She reminds him that true partners support each other during their most difficult and trying times. A loud thud sounding occurs as a massive, booted foot suddenly blocks their forest path. Three blue-skinned elves appear, mocking the atmosphere of the two travelers' deep, emotional conversation. Louise imagines their situation as a touching display of maternal love while he rides a piggyback. The hostile elves are suddenly moved to tears, missing their own mothers after watching the pair. The travelers are confronted by three blue-skinned elves who question their presence in the woods. The elves introduce themselves as Thibaut the pickpocket, a deceitful faker, and Yasu the phantom thief. The spiky-haired elf leader aggressively demands a toll for passing through their territory. Louise whispers to the princess that these are merely thugs and should be ignored. A quick pot sounding occurs as the child prince turns around to face his bullies. Louise clenches his tiny fist and threatens to make things difficult for them. The thugs are momentarily stunned by the sight of the boy's small, shaking hand. Overwhelmed by his cuteness, the elves blush and struggle to maintain their villainous personas. Alina is shocked that the prince's attempt at intimidation actually worked on the thieves. Snapping back to reality, the lead elf demands a price for trespassing on their land. He threatens to harm the princess's son, causing both travelers to react with pure horror. Alina and Louise both shout in protest, clarifying their relationship and the boy's actual age. The elves are baffled by the girl's claims, losing all interest in their once cute target. Abandoning the sentiment, the elf orders them to pay the toll if they value their lives. Alina erupts in a fury, screaming at the top of her lungs about the high cost. A soft tuck sounding of a dropped knife makes everyone stop and stare in confusion. The thieves tremble in fear as a terrifying presence suddenly looms over the entire group. Alina flees while the elves declare they will rob the very souls of the travelers. Carrying Louise on her back, the princess panics while trying to find a safe escape route. A heavy kung sounding of a massive footfall echoes through the air as fear takes hold. They look back into the dense trees where a dark, colossal shadow is stalking them. Louise shouts for the princess to run faster as the mysterious creature continues its pursuit. A rhythmic kung sounding follows the pair as Louise urges Alina to hurry through the woods. A sudden stop sounding occurs as Alina's red boots halt at the edge of the path. The pair finds themselves trapped against a massive, impassable rock wall with nowhere to hide. A heavy thud sounding occurs as a giant bird-like foot slams into the ground nearby. Alina screams in despair, realizing they are cornered by the monster following them. The travelers cry out in terror as the massive creature finally catches up to them. Looking up at the rock wall, Louise asks the princess what they should do now.
Louise points toward the looming threat while Alina stares in wide-eyed, paralyzed shock.
They both scream for scorn for their lives as the creature prepares to make its move. A fluffy white creature jumps out with a cheerful beep-beep sounding of a greeting. More adorable, round creatures emerge from the bushes, making tiny, high-pitched beeping sounds. The princess and the child prince are immediately mesmerized by the creature's irresistible cuteness. A rhythmic kung sounding accompanies the arrival of the massive, brown, bear-like creature. A small, pink-cheeked creature hops toward them as the giant bear watches from behind. The giant creature lets out a low, rumbling sound that shakes the very trees. Louise gushes over how cute the king bear is while Alina watches in disbelief. Sitting together, they learn the elf trio kidnapped the bear's cubs to sell them. Alina comforts the bear while Louise wonders how he can understand the creature's beeps. The giant bear clarifies that they were actually chasing the thieves during the crisis. Alina and Louise sympathize with the terrible plight of the kidnapped baby bears. Sitting on the grass, Louise notes that the baby bears seem to have taken a liking to him. Watching the prince play with the cubs, Alina beams with a warm, maternal smile. She quickly snaps back to her usual self, denying her role as a mother. A soft puck sounding occurs as the cubs tumble around while Louise watches them play. Louise tells the cubs to go play elsewhere, claiming adults don't play silly games. The giant bear tells the cubs to leave the crazy person alone and play elsewhere. Louise is confused as the cubs start a festive flower ceremony around him. Alina laughs and asks Louise to translate what the Prince Mama Bear just said. Holding the cub, Louise reveals that the mama bear now considers Alina her son-in-law following a proposal. Alina erupts in a furious scream, flatly rejecting the idea of any such marriage ever occurring. Louise gazes at the princess with wide eyes, curiously asking if she is feeling a bit jealous. Alina dismisses the absurd proposal by stating the obvious biological impossibility of humans and animals marrying each other. Alina's expression softens as she prepares to share some unfortunate news she had previously kept hidden. Despairing on the ground, Alina laments that their hasty escape cost them every bit of their travel luggage. Louise tries to restore order while Alina wails about the loss of her priceless treasures and magic mirror. Alina suddenly rejoices at Louise's suggestion, enthusiastically deciding that they must return for their lost belongings immediately. Louise translates the bear's violent threats against the thieves, leaving the pair feeling unsettled by her ferocity. Alina explains that the mama bear's massive presence would alert the thieves, necessitating a much more subtle approach. A soft potting sounding occurs as Louise comforts the giant bear, reassuring her that they will help. The pink-haired princess beams with a radiant and determined smile, ready to face the upcoming challenge. Deep in the woods, the thieves struggle with the locked chest while assuming their targets were eliminated. Suspended from a high branch, a wiggling sack remains the focus as the thieves discuss a bear's lethality. The elven thieves celebrate their catch, mocking the helpless cub while the leader stands watch in the distance. The thieves spot another solitary cub nearby and are immediately struck by its defenseless and adorable nature. A sudden dash sounding follows as the trio of blue-skinned thieves lunges forward to capture the little creature. The elves mock their target's presumed thoughts, confident that their plan to trap the cub is foolproof. One of the thieves stops and points, suddenly finding the cub's solitary behavior in the open highly suspicious. The spiky-haired leader aggressively questions the cub about its family and its presence alone in the woods. A tense silence falls as the thief watches the cub nonchalantly relieving itself right in front of him. Seeing the cub play with a butterfly, the elf concludes it is merely a lost and lonely stray. A rapid dash sounding follows as the cub bolts, sending the three thieves into a frantic pursuit. As they give chase, one elf questions their morality, while Thibaut barks orders for the others to follow. Standing alone by the chest, the lead elf gloats about how perfectly their thievery is currently proceeding. A quick running sounding alerts the thief leader to something approaching the clearing at a very high speed. A rapid pitter-patter sounding of tiny footsteps drumming against the forest floor confirms the arrival of small intruders. 3 round white cubs emerge from the tall grass, answering the thief's suspicion with a cheerful, united cry. The thief wonders about the missing mother bear, briefly considering if the princess had already dispatched the creature. Overcome by greed, the elf leader decides to stop worrying and focus on capturing every single valuable cub. Wearing a disturbing, shadowed grin, The elf tries to coax the fleeing cubs toward him with false kindness. The thief continues his hollow reassurances of being a good elf while his expression suggests something far more sinister. A sharp punch sounding from a cub connects with the elf's face, cutting his predatory advances short. A quick thud sounding occurs as the leader shouts in pain, blinded while the cubs continue their coordinated assault. A loud crash sounding comes from the bushes where Alina and Louise watch the cubs' surprisingly crazy behavior. Still clutching his injured eye, the thief leader growls a dark vow of vengeance against those who attacked him. A sudden loom sounding occurs as Alina and Louise appear behind the thief, brandishing heavy wooden clubs. Elsewhere, the remaining two thieves struggle to keep up with the incredible speed of a fleeing baby bear. The elves mock the cubs' short limbs, confident that their superior reach will eventually lead to its capture. A hand finally closes around the small creature, ending its desperate run with a triumphant cry. The two thieves celebrate their victory, finally securing the cub that had led them on such a long chase. Their celebration is short-lived as they suddenly realize they have fallen into a deep, dirt-walled pit trap. Trapped and helpless, the two thieves look toward the opening of the pit, hoping their leader will arrive. Their hope turns to pure terror as the massive, dark silhouette of the mama bear blocks out the light. Overwhelmed by fear, the two elven thieves embrace each other and wail in a fit of absolute desperation. Battered and bruised, the three thieves surrender completely, swearing to leave their criminal lives behind for good. Louise delivers a cold lecture to the thieves, mocking their lack of intelligence for falling into such simple traps. The mama bear issues a final, terrifying warning, promising a much more violent end if they ever return. Louise acts as the bear's translator one last time while the terrified thieves beg for their lives. Louise remains fixated on the princess's past insults, struggling to accept the idea that anyone could find him cute. The pink-haired princess celebrates recovering their luggage and the final baby bear cub. The giant mama bear sheds tears of joy during her reunion with her cub. The cubs discuss their fear and the importance of staying close to their mother. Alina asks what the bears are talking about while Louise remains silent. A soft sniffling sounding occurs as the blonde boy is moved to tears by the reunion. Alina watches the boy with a look of realization. The massive bear carries the small boy and her cubs together in a warm embrace. Alina says goodbye to the bear, thanking her for their shared journey. Louise translates for the bear, indicating the path that leads toward the nearest town. The pair waves farewell, telling the bears to be happy and never separate again. Louise walks away humming while Alina feels relieved that he seems to be doing well. The boy suddenly calls out to the princess to get her attention. Alina stops and looks back at him with a soft and patient expression. She praises the prince's incredible ability to communicate so well with wild animals. Louise reveals his lonely childhood led to talking to animals, prompting an apology from Alina. The blonde boy gazes at the princess and admits she reminds him of his mother. Alina erupts in a shocked scream, vehemently denying that she is a mother to him. Louise clarifies that he finds her to be a very warm person, just like his mother. Alina runs ahead in an embarrassed fluster while the boy shouts for her to wait. At the palace, a wizard and the king struggle to connect with Alina's magic mirror. The king expresses deep concern that the princess might be facing a serious problem. A news broadcast details the pessimistic plight of a princess imprisoned for 10 years. The wizard suggests waiting longer, as she might simply be ignoring their magic calls. The king watches the mirror, desperately hoping that nothing has gone wrong for the princess. In the palace hallway, a knight in silver armor silently observes the worried group. The dark-haired knight stares ahead with a look of intense and focused determination. A rhythmic step sounding echoes as Alina's red boots march firmly through the woods. A limping scuff sounding follows as Louise struggles to keep pace while calling for Alina. A loud growling sounding from his stomach confirms they should stop to prepare a camp. A bright campfire crackles in the forest, signaling the start of their evening rest. Alina agrees to prepare a meal, while the prince offers to gather more firewood. Alina watches him walk away, thinking that his small back seems surprisingly reliable. The princess clenches her fist, barely containing her excitement for her first camping trip. Alina tries to act mature while secretly rejoicing over her very first camping experience. Sitting by the fire, Alina grows worried as the prince takes a long time to return. Alina panics and berates herself for sending a young child into the forest alone. The pink-haired princess runs through the dense trees, shouting for the missing prince. Alina finds the boy and asks what he is doing behind the tree. Stuck on a branch, Louise cries and laments his inability to hold back his tears. Alina finds him and worries about how long he has been stuck there without calling. The blonde boy blushes in deep shame for being caught in such a pathetic state.
Alina reassures him that it is okay and that she is there to help him.
A soft thud sounding occurs as Louise finally lands on the ground. Alina tells the boy that there is no shame in asking for help as a child. The princess watches him with a kind smile, asking if the journey has been difficult. Louise admits to feeling physical fatigue, sleepiness, and the unbearable pain of his short legs. A sleepy nod sounding occurs as the boy begins to drift off mid-meal. Alina realizes how exhausting the long walk must have been for a child of his size. A soft padding sounding occurs as Alina decides to allow more time for naps. A massive red dragon looms over a younger version of the prince in a flashback. Louise mutters about squirrels in his sleep while a narration calls the prince cursed. The pink-haired princess sits by a campfire while the small blonde boy sleeps soundly nearby. In a tragic dream, the young blonde boy weeps and cries out for his mother. A soft sniffing sounding follows as the young boy eats alone at a large dinner table. A loud crash sounding occurs as a fist slams the table, demanding the noisy boy be silent. An angry red-haired man mocks the boy for still grieving his mother days after her death. The man threatens to kill the blonde boy if he makes even a single sound. A sharp hiccup sounding escapes the boy as he tries to stifle his tears and terror. The red-haired man praises a woman's cruelty while the boy's hiccup sounding continues in the background.
The man orders the servants to remove the boy's food bowl from the table immediately.
A metal clatter sounding occurs as the boy's dinner is dumped unceremoniously onto the dirty floor.
The red-haired woman sneers, telling the boy that the floor is the only place he belongs.
Mocking laughter sounding fills the hall as the blonde boy is forced to eat from the ground. A quick thud sounding occurs as a heavy boot kicks the boy's food away from him. The blonde youth stares back with cold fury, labeling his tormentors as truly pathetic things. A rhythmic step sounding echoes as the youth walks away from the hall, his heart hardened. Louise wakes up in the present, wondering why he would suddenly dream of such a painful past. The boy realizes he is being held close by the pink-haired princess as she sleeps. A soft rustle sounding occurs as Alina wakes up and asks the prince if he is awake. Blushing furiously, Louise rants about the impropriety of a woman hugging a man while they sleep. Alina privately reasons that she couldn't leave a shivering child to sleep alone in the cold woods. The pink-haired princess cheers for a strong start to the day, while the boy reluctantly joins in. Alina insists they eat well to gain strength, prompting a happy yum sounding from the prince. Sitting in a field, Alina nags the prince to chew his food during their long journey. A sudden stop sounding occurs as Alina halts her march through the tall grass.
Alina suggests another rest, causing the blonde boy to question how many breaks they need.
The princess declares it is nap time, catching the prince completely off guard. A soft padding sound follows as Alina insists that naps are vital for a child's health. The princess worries about their delay while noting the prince's small feet must be aching. The pink-haired princess gazes down the road, wishing for a carriage to give them a ride. A sudden jump sounding occurs as a carriage zooms past, sending the pair into a flurry. Alina frantically shakes the dizzy prince, outraged that he didn't react to the passing wagon. With fire in her eyes, Alina vows she will not let the next carriage escape her. Alina strikes a pose while holding a sign, confident no one could refuse helping a beauty. A loud zoom sounding occurs as a carriage speeds past, ignoring the princess's hitchhiking attempt. As the sun sets, the princess remains ignored while 14 carriages pass her by. Fuming with rage, Alina threatens to destroy the wheels of the next carriage that dares pass. A soft tap sounding follows as Louise points out the princess's sign is covered in dirt. A group of strangers on a wagon stops, asking if the small child needs assistance. The pink-haired princess rejoices, thanking the strangers and asking for a ride to the nearest town. A kind brown-haired man welcomes them, explaining they are already on their way to the village. The strangers introduce themselves as adventurers: Karina the wizard, Terex the warrior, Aaron the soldier, and Jake the rogue. Alina praises their noble mission of helping people, while Aaron modestly dismisses the compliment. Aaron asks the princess if she is traveling with her son, noting their lack of gear. Louise quickly lies about being her son going to see Grandma, cutting off Alina's introduction. Alina erupts in a tearful scream, horrified that the prince would deny their actual relationship. Louise's cold gaze warns Alina that sharing their true identities with strangers is a dangerous mistake. The two engage in a silent battle of glares, while the adventurers conclude they are mother and son. The blonde prince stares back with an innocent expression, masking the complex reality of their situation. Tarek approaches the blonde boy with open arms, insisting he isn't a scary man. The blonde-haired man beams with joy, excited by the prospect of playing together. Tarek spins the blonde boy around aggressively while the child screams in sheer terror. Louise begs the princess for help, while Alina remains frozen in a state of shock. Karina scoops up the dizzy boy, playfully claiming the role of his big sister. The red-haired wizard hugs the boy tightly, gushing over his doll-like cuteness while he groans. Louise begs for help as Alina continues to stare ahead with vacant eyes. A sharp tack sounding occurs as Louise tries to push away the woman's physical contact. Karina teases the boy for his mature rejection, jokingly pretending to feel deeply hurt. The red-haired woman offers the boy a piece of chocolate to test his stubborn resolve. Louise eventually caves and asks for the candy, much to the wizard's playful amusement. Laughter sounding fills the air as Karina pats the boy's head while he eats greedily. Arin offers the princess a warm cup of wine, which she graciously accepts. The princess enjoys the lively atmosphere, while the brown-haired man admits he wants a son. Arin reveals his difficult past, explaining that he was raised in an orphanage since childhood. The princess reacts with sympathy when Arin admits he never experienced the love of parents. Arin considers his fellow adventurers to be his family, despite their lack of blood ties. Alina smiles warmly, agreeing that a shared bond is more important than being related. The blonde boy drifts into a deep sleep, and the princess feels a protective urge. The adventurers observe that the boy has finally fallen asleep after their long journey. The scene shifts as the pink-haired princess is shown lying bound on the grass. A terrifying figure with glowing eyes warns against touching someone they consider an angel. Men shout commands to prepare the wagon as they realize the captive's ropes are loose. Alina is shown tied up and unconscious in the back of the wooden carriage. Arin predicts the princess will scream in terror once she finally regains consciousness. Karina holds the sleeping boy protectively, promising to take care of his fate. A noisy sounding echoes as the group discusses the high value of their noble captives. Louise's eyes widen in shock as Karina rejoices over finding a valuable magic mirror. The adventurers stand around the wagon, discussing the rare beauty of their captured princess. A sudden flinch sounding occurs as Louise hears them plan to sell Alina to traders. Karina notes the boy is unaware he is about to be separated from his mother. Jake expresses his hatred for children, demanding the boy be kept silent at all costs. The group decides to wait for the princess to wake up to find more treasures. Alina realizes with horror that the group she trusted has completely deceived and betrayed her. The gagged princess lies in the wagon, wondering if she will ever be okay again. Louise panics, desperately trying to figure out a way to escape their current dire situation. The prince considers attacking his captor while the villains discuss the drugs they used. Alina wakes up in a panic, only to be mocked by the red-haired wizard. The pink-haired princess screams at the group to release them from their bonds immediately. Arin looks down at her with vicious expression, mocking her lack of situational awareness. Louise stares back in silent shock as Karina challenges the princess's demands for freedom. Alina frantically asks about Louise's safety, while Karina claims the boy is sleeping well. The princess offers the kidnappers anything they want in exchange for their immediate release. Arin bursts into mocking laughter, finding the princess's attempt at negotiation to be hilarious. Arin tells the princess that her life and the child already belong to them completely. A fearful flinch sounding occurs as Alina learns they are being sold to new owners. A shake sounding occurs as Karina reveals she plans to keep the boy as a pet. Louise watches Alina as she desperately pleads with the group to at least free him. Jake watches the princess, noting how she acts like a protective mother to the child. Tarek apologizes for her behavior, while Arin remains confused by the princess's strange words. Night falls over a grand castle with towering spires under a starry sky. Inside the palace, a worried wizard with a brown hat and a hooded figure appear stressed. A blue-haired man and a stout woman in a pink gown look on with intense distress. A soft shake sounding follows as the wizard moves his head in disappointment. The blue-haired man and the pink-dressed woman react with visible shock to the wizard's report. A hand reaches out with a quick, fast sounding, demanding a search party find the princess immediately. A dark-haired knight in silver and blue armor volunteers for the mission while the man turns in shock. The dark-haired knight vows to find her, showing a determined expression as he kneels before the man. Back in the forest, the adventurers clink their mugs with a quick tack sounding as they cheer. Tarek and Karina laugh together while celebrating their capture around the campfire.
Louise looks around the camp, asking the group where the princess is being kept.
Karina points toward the covered wagon, telling the boy that his mother is sleeping over there. With a sinister grin,
Jake questions the wizard's plan to raise the child while she claims to truly love kids.
Karina holds the blonde boy as the rogue reminds her of her previous failed attempts at childcare.
Louise asks the wizard what they will play, feigning a cheerful and innocent attitude.
The red-haired woman offers the boy chocolate instead of a game, causing him to react with shock.
The prince realizes the chocolate is drugged and resolves to stay awake at all costs.
Visual distortion occurs.
Louise forces a smile and accepts the candy, acting as though he is falling for her trick. A soft huff sounding follows as the blonde boy stumbles away toward the supply barrels. A heavy thud sounding occurs as Louise collapses on the grass, tricking his captors into thinking he's drugged.
Louise privately vows to trample his tormentors once he has secured their escape. Jake walks past the boy's head, shouting for more alcohol while a rhythmic dug sounding occurs.
A heavy step sounding follows as the rogue's boots pass right by the boy's face. Jake laughs about drinking himself to death while picking up a large barrel near the campsite. Aaron emerges from a tent to relieve himself, moving with a quick, fast sounding. A sudden boom sounding occurs as the older man finds his 3 companions unconscious on the ground. The blonde-bearded man wonders how much they drank to end up in such a pathetic state. A soft piss sounding echoes as Aaron relieves himself in the woods, feeling refreshed afterward. Aaron hears a noise and tells someone to move as his eyes widen in sudden shock. A quick, fast sounding occurs as a horse leaps past the bewildered man in the forest. Aaron looks around with a terrified expression, wondering what is happening to his camp. Grabbing the warrior's collar, the old man wonders if his companion has actually died from drinking.
Tarek remains in a deep, drooling slumber while Aaron screams at him to wake up immediately.
A quick rush sounding occurs as the scene shifts to the pair fleeing through the dark woods. Sweating from the exertion, Louise celebrates the fact that he has successfully saved the princess.
Alina suddenly sits up in the tall grass with a panicked expression.
The princess wonders if the entire kidnapping was merely a popular hidden camera prank show. Louise laughs at the princess's ridiculous theory, finding her typical personality to be comforting. The pink-haired princess looks at the blonde boy and asks if he truly saved her. Recalling her tearful pleas for his safety, Louise realizes the princess had already saved him emotionally. The prince reflects on his deep bond with the princess as they rest in the tall grass. A warm expression fills the boy's face as he looks up at his companion with gratitude. A soft laugh sounding fills the air as the two continue their banter while the sun sets. A soft crunch sounding occurs as they move through the dense field of tall grass. Alina realizes they are off the path and worries about getting caught by their pursuers. The pink-haired princess looks back to ensure the small prince is still following her.
Alina screams in terror when she sees the boy has disappeared into the thick greenery.
A quick drop sounding occurs as Alina picks up the dizzy prince to check on him. The blonde boy gasps, telling the princess he was almost dazed by this dangerous place. The pink-haired princess apologizes for the tough path and offers to help him along. Submerged in grass, the boy claims this is nothing compared to magical castle defenses. The boy vows to escort the princess, boldly telling her to stand behind him. Her face lights up as she agrees to trust him while he laughs confidently.
The princess asks if she can help as the boy slowly cuts through the grass.
A single eye peers through the dense greenery, accompanied by a surprised exclamation. The boy warns that something has appeared and orders the princess to stay behind him. A low grrr sounding echoes as glowing yellow eyes watch them from the tall grass. Terrified, the blonde boy screams that the mysterious creature is coming right for them. A gray-furred wolf boy notes that they are noisy humans while being identified as bipedal. The boy accuses the wolf of lying, but the creature claims he's just passing by. The boy accuses the creature of wanting to eat them, surprising the bipedal wolf boy. A quick gang sounding occurs as the wolf boy bonks the blonde child's head. The wolf boy scolds the child as the princess decides not to interfere in their fight. The pink-haired princess leads the way through the forest while the dejected boy follows. The princess tries to cheer him up, saying he will grow stronger through his battles. The boy sighs, remembering how he used to lose fights with his younger brother too. The boy points toward their destination, urging the surprised princess to go in that direction. A splash sounding occurs as bare feet step into the clear water of a stream. Smiling brightly, the princess asks the boy how he managed to find this hidden place. The princess rests by the riverbank, inviting the boy to come over and sit beside her. The princess is amazed when the boy claims he can catch fish with his bare hands. Blushing, the boy listens as she calls him a survival expert for finding the valley. The boy jumps into the river, promising to show her his fishing skills in person. A splash sounding follows as the princess wonders what happened to the submerged boy. Desperate splash sounding echoes as the boy panics and screams for the princess to save him. The princess pulls the boy from the shallow water, which is only 80 centimeters deep. A soft sniff sounding occurs as the princess scolds the shivering boy for being reckless. The boy admits he didn't realize the depth, but she notes it wasn't deep at all. The princess notes the water only reached her thighs, while the boy feels his life was threatened. The princess calls the boy weird, while he laments the weakness of his current small body. The princess lists his failures, accusing him of jumping into danger and fighting with passersby. The boy is devastated when the princess bluntly tells him that he was only bluffing. The boy promises to protect her regardless, leaving the pink-haired princess in a state of surprise. Wet clothes hang on a branch to dry, while the boy laments being a burden. Wrapped in a cloak, the boy laughs pathetically about his failed attempts to look cool. The princess hugs the boy and insists he is cool, even without showing off. The boy grumbles about his bad luck, while the princess looks at him with a warm smile. The princess explains that his knowledge of rare flowers and trees was truly impressive to her. She adds that finding the valley by the sound of water was another cool feat. Looking up at her, the boy hears that everyone has a different standard for being cool. The pair sits together in the sunset, enjoying a moment of peaceful conversation in the woods. The princess asks him to promise that he won't act so dangerously in the future. A loud rumble sounding occurs as the boy's stomach growls, signaling that he is very hungry. The pink-haired princess worries about dinner since she hasn't prepared anything for them to eat. A sudden flinch sounding occurs as a stealthy figure appears behind the startled pair in camp. An adult wolfman and the wolf boy return, offering fish as an apology for before. The princess and the boy react with visible joy and surprise at the kind gesture. The group gathers around a warm campfire, happily sharing a meal of roasted fish together. A quick tap sounding follows as a group of riders arrives at the witch's castle. A knight asks the chief if they should return to the kingdom and report their findings. The knights stop their horses before a massive pile of gray stone rubble. Looking horrified, the dark-haired knight whispers the princess's name as he surveys the ruins. A promotional banner displays information for a community group and support links. A warning graphic advises readers not to repost the content on other social media platforms. Alina and Louise share a joyful glance, celebrating their long-awaited arrival. The pink-haired princess excitedly announces that they have finally reached the town. Alina explains to the boy that they have arrived on the village's monthly market day. Eager to eat, the princess suggests they fill their stomachs while the hungry boy agrees. A soft gulp sounding echoes as the pair nervously presents a glowing gold pocket watch. An old man with a monocle examines the intricate gold watch with a thoughtful hum. Alina claims the watch is a royal treasure of the Aurelia kingdom, passed down through generations. The merchant suspects they are runaway nobles and assumes the cloaked boy is a slave. The old merchant offers them 1,000,000 sets for the treasure, while keeping a stoic face. Both children react with outrage, demanding the merchant pay at least 5 times his initial offer. Alina asserts her identity as the Princess of Aurelia, but the merchant mockingly dismisses her claim. A quick whoosh sounding follows as the merchant tells them to find another shop if they're unhappy. A soft smile sounding fills the air as Alina tries to pacify the angry, grumbling prince. A low grumble sounding echoes as Louise complains that the royal treasure was sold too cheaply. A soft slurp sounding occurs as the drooling princess eyes a display of delicious roasted meats. A soft chuck sounding follows as the boy sarcastically praises the princess for her extensive knowledge. A local vendor welcomes the pair and prepares 2 meat skewers at the princess's request. The vendor assumes Alina is the boy's mother, causing the princess to pause in surprise. Alina enthusiastically plays along with the mistake, while the boy reacts with stunned silence. The pink-haired princess laughs heartily, fully leaning into her role as the boy's mother. With a blushing, hesitant expression, the blonde boy begrudgingly calls her mom.
Alina tells the prince she's getting used to the family ruse and doesn't mind the title.
Reaching out, the princess offers her hand to the boy with a bright, welcoming smile. Louise feels flustered and finds the idea of holding hands to be strange and embarrassing. Alina insists it looks natural to others and encourages him to enjoy their time together. Spotting a nearby crowd, the princess pulls the boy along to see what is happening. The pair stops to watch a man in festive clothing perform music on a small lute. Alina beams with happiness after being gifted a single beautiful red rose during the festivities. The two companions sit down to share a large, cream-filled cake topped with fresh strawberries. Dressed in elegant masks, the pair explores the town's vibrant festival under a clear blue sky. A loud boom sounding fills the night as fireworks explode above the pair on the roof. Alina tells the boy that this is her first time truly enjoying a festival like this. The princess reflects on her experiences, finding today's events to be particularly special. A sudden boom sounding occurs as Alina lists all the adventures she still hopes to experience. The princess asks the prince what other things he has been unable to distaste in his life. Alina counts the boy's accomplishments on her fingers, noting he's already enjoyed candy and festivals. The princess vows to try every new experience together with the boy from now on. Looking at him with a tender smile, Alina emphasizes that they will face the future together. A series of boom soundings echo as the pair watches the colorful fireworks from the rooftop. Alina calls out to Louis from outside a lavish dressing room filled with expensive gowns. Louise emerges wearing a light pink sailor-style outfit and a matching beret. Alina and the shop assistant squeal with delight over how adorable the boy looks. The boy is subjected to multiple outfits, including cat ears, an eye patch, and a frilly dress. While the boy worries about the high prices, Alina insists on buying only the best for him. The blonde boy stares in shock as a soft sounding echoes among the roses. The merchant shows the princess a new seasonal outfit for the boy at a discount. Ecstatic, the pink-haired princess holds out her money and demands to buy the clothes. A quick whoosh sounding occurs as Alina scolds the boy, while he lets out a soft hing sounding. The boy stands dressed in his new gear, which cost a total of 150,000 sets. A quick twirl sounding follows as the pair admires the high quality and comfort of their new clothes. The boy thanks the princess, and she admits she wanted to buy him something even better. The sun sets as the pair finally reaches an inn to rest for the night. Exhausted, the boy collapses on the floor while the princess thanks him for shopping all day. Alina lists the supplies she bought, noting they have one last check before leaving tomorrow morning. While the boy rests on the bed, the princess asks him to look at something important. A crisp unfold sounding occurs as the princess spreads a large map out for them to see. Alina points to their current location in Hadavi, near the border of the kingdom of Barnia. She identifies the site of the former tower, noting that visitors haven't been there in years. The boy is overwhelmed by the distance they must walk to reach their destination in Aurelia. A sharp chuck sounding follows as the princess points out a friend's home in a neighboring kingdom. The world map displays the long route ahead from their current location to the princess's kingdom. A girl declares it impossible not to admire someone, suggesting they need to be cleansed. In a flashback, a blue-haired man stands behind the princess while she wears royal jewels. Narration explains that magic mirrors served as the only windows to the vast outside world. Alina reflects on her past, remembering how she struggled to endure life without her magic mirror. A complex magic circle glows, showing how mirrors allowed people to communicate with each other easily. The princess recalls the community of other rescued princesses who supported and relied on one another. 8 years ago, Princess Laurie worried about whether her future savior would actually like her. Alina fondly remembers chatting all night with her friends to soothe their shared loneliness. Alina encourages the prince, noting it will take 3 more days to reach the next kingdom. Looking at the map, the boy asks what they will do if the friend is gone. The princess stares back with a blank, smiling expression that makes the boy feel uneasy. Alina laughs off his worries, insisting their lifelong friendship is a bond that will last forever. The princess suddenly stops and realizes there is a question she should have asked much earlier. With a sudden intensity, Alina demands to know what the boy's relationship with the witch is. She asserts her right as his fiancé to know about his past and why he was cursed. The boy stares back silently, his face shadowed as he processes the princess's sudden interrogation. The boy asks if she will be disappointed, but she firmly promises that she will not. A soft gulp sounding echoes as the princess waits breathlessly for him to reveal his secret. The boy remains silent, causing the princess to feel nervous as the tension in the room grows.
A muffled "humph" sounding occurs as the boy struggles against the curse to speak his truth.
Alina wonders aloud why a witch would ever target a child with such a cruel curse. She realizes that the reason for the curse must be directly related to how to break it. The boy considers that his story might be too dangerous or impossible for others to hear. A vision of the purple-haired witch looms over the boy as he thinks about his secret past. The princess watches him with sharp eyes, her curiosity growing because he is unable to speak. Alina decides to let it slide for now, and the boy thinks she is incredibly cool. The princess tells the boy to sleep while she stays up to study the map further.
A tired yawn sounding occurs as the boy apologizes and prepares to go to bed first. Alina wishes the prince sweet dreams, feeling good about the progress they have made so far.
In a flashback, an older boy describes a terrifying monster with hundreds of sharp teeth. The red-haired boy whispers that the monster hid in the prince's bedroom just the night before. Terrified, the younger boy begs Gwel Hyungnim to stop lying to him about the scary monster. Gwel warns that the monster targets weak children while they are quiet and fast asleep. Gwendwell smiles maliciously, telling the boy that his cries for help will go unheard. The blonde boy stares back with terrified eyes, quietly refusing to comply. A sharp smack sounding follows as Grimwell strikes the blonde boy for his continued defiance. A heavy wham sounding echoes as the child is thrown roughly to the ground. A loud bang sounding occurs as the door is slammed shut on the crying boy. A loud bang sounding echoes as the child desperately begs Grell to open the door. A loud bang sounding follows as the boy continues to pound the door, pleading for company. A soft sniff sounding fills the air as the boy collapses into tears of isolation. The boy's eyes widen in alarm as he senses something moving in the shadows behind him. A loud bang sounding occurs as the child calls for Rae Hyungnim to come rescue him. The child's eye trembles with pure terror as he realizes he is truly trapped and alone.
With a sharp cry, the blonde boy bolts upright in bed, waking from his haunting nightmare.
Nearby, the pink-haired princess sleeps peacefully, her steady breathing the only sound in the room. Wiping away his tears, the boy reflects on the heartless nature of his childhood tormentors. He remembers how his bullies would visit his room every night for their own cruel amusement. The blonde boy recalls the toll the constant fear took on his fragile body and mind. Looking back, he realizes that the true monster was the crushing despair of his isolation. A sudden rattle sounding from the window makes the jumpy boy flinch in fright. Realizing it was only the wind, the boy stares into the darkness, still shaken by his dream. Unable to settle down, the blonde boy tosses and turns, feeling small in the empty bed. Clutching his pillow tightly, the boy sits up and gazes longingly toward the sleeping princess. Approaching her bed, he quietly asks the sleeping girl if she is truly fast asleep. Apologizing for the intrusion, the boy carefully sneaks under the covers next to the pink-haired princess. Alina instinctively reaches out and pulls the boy into a warm embrace while she sleeps. Holding him tight, the princess murmurs gentle words of reassurance to the startled blonde boy. A soft pat sounding follows as Alina strokes his head, comforting him in her sleep. The pair finally rests peacefully together, sharing the warmth of the bed for the remainder of the night. A promotional banner features a girl expressing her extreme devotion to following the group's updates. The morning sun fills the room as the pink-haired princess begins to wake with a soft hum. Stretching as she sits up, Alina is shocked to find the blonde boy sleeping soundly beside her. Looking down at the resting child, the princess wonders when exactly he crawled into her bed. A joyful smile spreads across her face as she assumes he sought her out after a nightmare. During breakfast, the boy flusteredly explains he only joined her bed to protect her from monsters. A quick whoosh sounding occurs as Alina tells him to finish his meal before they depart. The princess asks the boy if there is anything he truly wants before they leave town. Louise hesitates, appearing flustered as he tries to find the right words for his request. Blushing, the boy admits that, while not necessary, there is something he's been thinking about. A large pink and white swirl lollipop is held up triumphantly as his desired treasure. A soft whoosh sounding occurs as the happy boy displays his new treat to the smiling princess. A soft lick sounding follows as the boy enjoys the candy, and Alina wishes she could record it. Watching him eat, the princess makes a mental note of how much the boy loves sweets. Alina encourages the boy to always be honest with her about his future hopes and desires. With a bright, happy smile, the princess tells him that his happiness makes her heart happy. The blonde boy stares at her with a blush, beginning to feel as if she really were his mother. As they trek through the woods, Alina tells him about the legendary appleberries at the palace. A soft slurp sounding follows as the boy enjoys his lollipop while Alina describes the palace treats. Curiosity piqued by her stories, the blonde boy asks the princess about her own family life. Alina describes her father as a kind king and her mother as a terrifying angel when angry.
While Alina reflects on taking after her mother, the boy quickly notes in his book to never upset her. Piquing his interest further, the curious boy asks Alina about the sister she mentioned in their past talks.
Alina hesitates while beginning to describe her older sister's complicated personality. A vision of her sister shows a wild, blue-haired girl wielding a baseball bat.
Flashbacks show a quiet, introverted Alina compared to her unyielding, headstrong sister.
Their vastly different personalities meant the two sisters were constantly fighting as children. A cheerful giggle sounding occurs as Alina recalls their mother scolding them for bickering. The boy notes Alina seems far more innocent now than her childhood stories suggest. Alina wonders how much her sister has changed since being sent to the tower. She hopes that returning to the kingdom will finally allow them to reconnect. A soft clench sounding follows as the pair continues their journey through the woods.
Alina enthusiastically asks the boy to share his own life story with her.
The boy nervously prepares to speak, hoping his lack of eloquence won't be boring.
He introduces his half-brothers, Jade and Gwel, and his only full brother, Ray. Before long, his young and beautiful mother, Muralia, ascended to the royal throne. The arrival of a stepmother caused the king's attention to be stolen from them.
This perceived neglect caused a dark resentment to grow within the three older brothers. Their father, the emperor, eventually became bedridden due to a chronic, debilitating disease. A dark and foreboding energy settles over the silhouette of the royal palace.
One day, the boy's mother began to feel weak as her health suddenly failed.
Without their mother, the two youngest brothers were left to protect one another.
The boy reflects on how he and Ray were eventually forced to part ways.
A close-up of the young boy's eyes reveals a deep and haunting sadness.
Looking back at the palace, he remembers his childhood as a time of isolation.
He explains to Alina that he has no happy memories of his royal family.
The memory of being alone and unloved causes the boy to look away sadly. Alina defends him, asserting that she likes him and he shouldn't be so self-deprecating.
She repeats her fondness for him, and the boy offers a quiet, sincere thanks. He realizes meeting the princess was only possible because his brother Ray helped him.
The blonde boy credits his brother for giving him the best luck imaginable.
A strange nya sounding echoes through the forest, catching the princess's attention.
A startled gasp occurs as Alina wonders what made that unusual noise nearby. The boy tells the princess to wait as he investigates the source of the sound.
A series of analytical notes detail the complexities and difficulties of the current narrative. A starving, cat-like slime creature lets out a weak nya sounding in the brush. They find the hybrid creature adorable, despite never seeing such a thing before.
Alina kindly offers the thirsty creature some water from her personal travel flask.
A loud gulp sounding follows as the cat slime drinks the water greedily. The boy offers the small, yellow creature a piece of bread to eat. The pair rejoices as the cat slime seems much healthier and more energetic. Alina remarks that the creature was lucky they were the ones to find it.
She notes that the boy's ability to hear the creature's voice saved its life.
A quiet stare sounding occurs as the cat slime gazes intensely at the prince.
The pair bids the creature farewell and prepares to continue their trek.
A lonely nya sounding follows them as the cat slime watches them walk away.
Alina feels much lighter having helped the creature, noting how much it ate.
The boy pauses and looks back, sensing that they are being followed. He looks down and finds the cat slime trailing right at his heels. He offers the creature more food, assuming it must still be hungry. With a sudden jump, the cat slime sticks firmly to the boy's head. The boy panics as the creature refuses to move, much to Alina's surprise.
Alina demands he return the creature immediately before they accidentally adopt a pet.
Louise considers the cat slime's lack of family, but Alina insists they cannot take it.
A teary sounding occurs as both the boy and creature plead with the princess to reconsider.
Overwhelmed by their combined cuteness, the princess admits she cannot resist their tearful manipulation. As they walk, Alina names the creature Namnyami, though Louise is confused by her affection.
A soft creak sounding follows as the blue-haired king gazes out a window in deep thought. His wife, wearing hair curlers, finds him awake and asks why he is not resting.
The king admits he is worried about the princess's safety and cannot settle his mind. He reflects on his duty to protect his children, regretting his decision to send Alina away. Looking at the moon, the king laments that his own greed led to this difficult situation. While the queen tells him not to blame himself, the king continues to lament his foolishness. He looks at a family portrait, regretting that both Marie and Alina had to leave. A sharp slap sounding occurs as the queen strikes him for mourning children who are alive. She furiously tells him to stop crying and stop acting like everything is already lost. Softly holding his hands, she reassures him that their children are far stronger than he thinks. They share a warm moment as the king acknowledges their children are bright and capable. Standing together at the window, the royal couple offers an earnest prayer for their family's safety. Elsewhere, a glowing blue pillar stands amidst a desolate pile of stone and debris. A black-haired man in white armor gazes at the wreckage, whispering the princess's name. Back in the forest, Alina expresses concern that they might be heading the wrong way. Louise recalls how Namyami promised to show them a shortcut through the dense woods. A quick poke sounding follows as the creature snaps at Louise for questioning its navigation skills. Louise admits to Alina that he will trust the creature to avoid being hit again. Alina is delighted to follow Namyami's lead, while the creature chirps happily at her excitement. Admiring the trees, the princess remarks that the forest feels like a magical storybook setting. Louise remains anxious, noting that he has never encountered such a strange place before. Alina excitedly points out a shining object, much to the boy's growing concern for her safety. A loud burst sounding follows as Louise shouts at her for being careless in unknown territory. The princess admits she is simply thrilled by the adventure, though Louise questions her sanity. A sudden flinch sounding occurs as Louise demands they stay on guard instead of exploring. A quick stand sounding follows as Alina snaps back, accusing the boy of being too wary. Another flinch sounding occurs as the princess tells the blonde boy he is overreacting. A sharp crackle sounding follows as the two exchange an intense, spark-filled gaze of annoyance. A double whoosh sounding follows as both turn away from each other with a huff. The pair continues walking in a tense, uncomfortable silence through the distorted, shadowy trees. Both the boy and the girl look away, each feeling a private sense of regret. Louise worries that his constant caution makes him look like a weirdo in her eyes. He reflects on how his traumatic past has made him sensitive to threats others ignore. Looking at her, he regrets trying to bring her down simply because he lacks her strength. The boy spots the glowing, rabbit-shaped stone that the princess had tried to show him. He imagines Alina's joyful face and hopes that showing her the stone will fix everything. Carefully, the blonde boy reaches down and picks up the beautiful, multicolored glowing stone. A soft sneak sounding follows as he hides the precious gift behind his back. A quick glance sounding follows as Alina looks back, wondering if she was too harsh. She remembers her own excitement about camping and realizes she was acting very childish. The princess realizes her excitement must have made her seem completely unreliable to the boy. She reflects on how he always tries to protect her, despite his own vulnerable state. Alina looks down sadly, realizing her behavior has caused a rift in their relationship. She resolves to set her pride aside and offer the prince a sincere apology first. Her thoughts are interrupted by a strange sight as she lets out a bewildered gasp. A soft sneak sounding follows as a mysterious dark creature watches them from the shadows. A swift sounding follows as Alina pulls the prince close, shouting for him to be careful. Louise asks what is happening while the princess warns that something is lurking nearby. A grumpy blue cat-like slime emerges from the brush, looking puzzled by the commotion. The two slimes recognize one another, exchanging friendly greetings and polite inquiries about their well-being. The blue slime asks about the rumors of a captured butler, while Namyami claims the boy is being trained. The two creatures bid each other farewell, wishing for one another to live well and stay healthy. Alina and Louise are left completely bewildered by the strange social interaction between the two slimes. Letting out a long sigh, Alina admits she was terrified that a dangerous encounter was about to happen. She confesses that her primary concern was ensuring the prince remained safe and out of harm's way. A whoosh sounding and blush sounding follow as the pair turns away in an awkward, silent embarrassment. Alina prepares to address her behavior from earlier, resolving to offer the prince a sincere apology. Louise is startled as the princess suddenly calls out to him with a confused look on her face. The pair sits down together, the princess waiting patiently for the boy to share his thoughts.
Louise admits his constant suspicion is a bad habit born from his own feelings of weakness and past trauma.
Alina insists it is not his fault, claiming she was the tactless one for not understanding his perspective.
She reflects on her own easygoing nature, admitting she felt her heart sink when things became dangerous.
Louise smiles softly, admitting that despite his caution, he finds their current surroundings fascinating and truly amazing.
He reflects on his growing bond with the princess, feeling that his experiences with her are changing him. The pair shares a peaceful moment of connection, sitting back to back amidst the quiet, glowing trees of the forest.
Alina enthusiastically suggests they make a formal promise to celebrate their reconciliation and move forward together.
She asks for his trust, and Louise warmly agrees to accept any new experience alongside the princess. The two share a joyful laugh, finally feeling completely synchronized and happy in each other's company.
Namyami leads the way, prompting the pair to wonder if the creature is trying to show them something specific.
Alina lets out a gasp as she follows the slime through a narrow gap between the massive trees. They emerge into a breathtaking clearing filled with magical, glowing blue trees that sparkle like the night sky.
Alina is mesmerized by the view, while Louise hides the beautiful rabbit stone behind his back. Elsewhere, a knight reports to his captain that they have recovered supplies from the princess's wrecked room.
The subordinate presents a small, pink book found amidst the debris of the royal carriage's disaster. The black-haired man in white armor identifies the recovered object as the princess's personal diary.
A flip sounding follows as the captain opens the book to inspect its frantic, handwritten contents.
His eyes widen in shock as he reads the word lonely written repeatedly across the tear-stained pages. The diary reveals the princess's deep despair and her fear that everyone would eventually forget her existence.
The knight reports that despite their efforts, they have been unable to locate the princess's body.
The subordinate asks for further orders, doubting they will find anything more in the vast search area.
The black-haired captain turns away in silence, his expression heavy with the grim reality of the search.
Back in the forest, Alina prepares to start a fire, telling Louise not to wander too far.
The princess asks Namyami to help her gather dry branches from the surrounding woods for their camp. A giggle sounding occurs as Alina watches the cat slime busily scurry about to assist her. An urgent nya-nya sounding catches the princess's attention, making her wonder what the creature has found. Namyami proudly presents a cluster of vibrant pink mushrooms decorated with small, white, heart-shaped patterns.
Alina inspects the unusual mushrooms, confused by their strange appearance and the creature's excited presentation of them.
She wonders aloud if the mushrooms might be poisonous, while the cat slime chirps to encourage her. A double sniff sounding follows as the princess notes that the mushrooms have a remarkably sweet fragrance. Tempted by the pleasant aroma, the princess prepares to take a small bite of the heart-patterned mushroom. Alina decides that the mushroom tastes exactly like fresh raspberries, finding the snack to be surprisingly delicious.
A flop sounding occurs as Alina suddenly feels a wave of dizziness and struggles to remain standing.
The princess looks dazed and confused, her vision blurring as she loses her grip on her surroundings.
Louise notices her distress and cries out in concern, rushing toward her as she begins to collapse.
The blonde boy catches the falling princess in his arms, while Namyami looks on with a worried expression. Alina gasps and blushes, her eyes wide with surprise at the prince's sudden and protective closeness. A sudden shout announces that the prince's body has returned to its normal form.
Louise explains that the mushrooms provided by Namyami allowed him to regain his original adult body.
Overwhelmed with gratitude, Alina hugs the slime and thanks it for its magical assistance.
A quick grab sounding occurs as the blonde man takes hold of the princess's hands.
Louise thanks Alina for her care while she notices how large and strong his hands are.
A firm clench sounding follows as the man smiles softly at the flustered princess.
Alina looks at the prince with a soft, affectionate expression amidst the beautiful, glowing forest. A sharp push sounding occurs as the princess shoves the man away for being too close. In chibi forms, Louise apologizes while Alina's heart beats with a loud thump-thump sounding. A soft extend sounding follows as the man reaches his hand out toward her again.
Louise stands confidently in his handsome adult form, offering his hand with a gentle smile. Alina gazes at his outstretched hand, her face turning a bright shade of red. A sudden pull sounding occurs as the prince draws the princess into a close embrace. A forceful sounding and tremble sounding follow as the pair shares an uncomfortably close moment. Frustrated and sweating, Alina demands to know why he continues to crowd her personal space.
Louise mentions the romantic atmosphere, but Alina furiously denies that such a mood exists. In chibi form, Louise sulks while Alina decides she can no longer trust his face.
The two eat their campfire meal in a tense and incredibly awkward, silent atmosphere. Settling into their separate beds, the pair remains quiet and avoids looking at one another.
They exchange brief, polite goodnight wishes before trying to sleep in the dark, shadowy woods.
A bright flash sounding follows as Alina lies awake, panicking over the day's strange events. Louise lies nearby in the soft light, looking remarkably handsome and peaceful as he rests.
Alina is gripped by intense shock and horror, her face turning blue with confusion. Louise moves to her side, claiming he is following her previous offer to sleep nearby if scared. The princess complains about his persistence, while the man asks if his presence is truly unwanted.
Alina calls their closeness a sin, but Louise argues that couples are also part of a family. She insists he is more like a son to her, deeply disturbed by the shift in dynamic.
The princess admits she needs much more time to mentally adjust to his grown-up presence.
Louise tearfully claims she doesn't love him, prompting Alina to frantically insist that she does. A quick grip sounding and lick sounding follow as the man expresses a desire for erotic love.
Louise admits that his adult body has released suppressed feelings of lust toward the princess.
Reaching out with a nosebleed, the man's intense expression causes the princess to recoil in fear. Letting out a terrified scream, Alina shouts her refusal as magical energy crackles around her.
A loud slap sounding follows as the princess strikes the person in front of her.
Alina wakes to find Louise is a small child again, looking worried about her condition.
A sudden spring sounding occurs as Alina realizes the entire romantic ordeal was just a hallucination.
The young boy sits innocently on the ground, looking up with large and curious green eyes.
Louise explains that the mushrooms caused her nightmare, pointing at the cat slime as the cause. Namnyami reveals the mushrooms are delicious but cause horrible hallucinations for anyone who eats them. A quick stretch sounding follows as Alina pulls on the slime's face to punish its trickery.
The young boy wonders if he managed to make an appearance in her strange dream.
Alina pats his head, begging him to grow up pure and cute rather than clingy.
Elsewhere, knights rest in a grassy field, appearing exhausted from their ongoing search for the princess. A green-haired knight asks about their progress, learning they are half a day from the portal. Subordinates worry about their captain, who sits alone in a state of deep, visible distress.
They assume he is suffering from shock, watching as the black-haired man remains silent and morose.
The knights gossip about rumors that the captain previously led the princess's secret fan club.
A short-haired knight sits nearby, listening to their conversation with a neutral, blank expression.
He sternly tells the other soldiers to shut up as the captain continues to sit alone.
The black-haired captain remains curled up by a tree, lost in his own heavy, silent grief.
The black-haired captain stares down at the pink diary, his expression heavy with a sense of grim realization.
His subordinates are caught off guard when the captain suddenly looms over them, prompting a surprised shout. The captain reflects on the dishonor of reading a lady's diary, while his men observe his visible distress. In chibi form, the soldiers are utterly confused by their leader's behavior as someone questions his actions. The black-haired man looks down with a bead of sweat on his face, his eyes filled with quiet sorrow. A single tear escapes the captain's eye as he continues to grip the princess's personal book in silence. A small red dragon creature struggles to carry a massive, overflowing pile of sealed envelopes. A woman with long purple hair applies lipstick as the dragon explains the mail is all from the kingdom of Aurelia. A sudden, loud, abruptly sounding occurs as the woman decides to ignore the mail, fearing they will ask about the princess. A quick whoosh sounding follows as she carelessly tosses a pile of clothes onto the small, disgruntled dragon. The purple-haired woman dismisses any further interest in the royal pair's fate, despite the dragon's hesitant attempts to argue. Standing in a lavish room, the woman is revealed in a gothic witch costume, while the dragon asks where she is going. Isabel declares with a determined look that she might be very late returning today. The small red dragon peers from behind a door, calling out to Isabel and asking for her destination. The little creature sulks in disappointment, admitting it truly believed she had found real love this time. Back in the forest, Alina happily describes the upcoming National Day festival they will attend together. The blonde boy listens intently as the princess lists the many things they will eat and experience in her country.
Alina insists their first priority is breaking the prince's curse, which the boy softly acknowledges.
In chibi forms, the pair plays a hypothetical game about being stranded on a deserted island together.
The princess lets out a joyful laugh, asking the boy if her previous statement was a sufficient answer.
Louise privately worries that if he cannot break the curse, he will never be able to marry her.
The blonde boy looks up with wide, innocent green eyes, asking the princess if she is all right.
Alina gazes at him with a soft smile, though she secretly admits she lacks the courage to ask him anything.
In chibi forms, Alina scolds the boy for having useless thoughts while he lets out several soundings.
The orange cat slime wakes up in a bag as Alina suggests they plan their future kingdom visit.
Louise silently prays that he will one day return to his original adult self. A loud sounding echoes through a village as tiny creatures warn each other not to speak to the witch. Isabel stands in the middle of a magical village, complaining about the unsettling atmosphere while looking for Daphne.
A mysterious figure with glowing, long hair welcomes Isabel, noting it has been a very long time.
Daphne, a beautiful elf with long, light green braids, asks Isabel what has brought her to this specific place. The elf is visibly shocked that Isabel would ever ask anyone to do a favor for her.
Daphne notes that the request must be for something incredibly unusual and difficult given Isabel's nature. The elf collapses in a fit of wild laughter after learning that Louise was transformed into a child.
Two tremble soundings occur as Isabel fumes while the elf mockingly calls her a cute girl.
Daphne closes her eyes and focuses her magical energy, preparing to assist the witch with her request.
Isabel stares into the distance, wondering if she is truly acting on her own earnest desire. She contemplates whether the curse was born from a desire for something she could never truly possess.
Daphne states that Isabel is the world's most powerful witch, and if she cannot solve the curse, no one can.
The elf explains that the curse is deepening because the prince himself is starting to accept his condition.
Daphne says that as a fairy godmother, the only thing she can offer the prince is a blessing. The fairy godmother promises to bless the boy so he can lift the curse through his own inner strength. Isabel reflects on the one thing she wanted from the prince that he refused to give her. She realizes that whatever he withheld is the only key to uncovering the true nature of the curse.
Returning to the woods, Alina suggests they find a place to camp out before the sun sets.
The princess stops and calls out to Louise when she notices a small detail about his appearance. She points out that his shoelaces are untied, and the boy realizes they have been loose for some time.
Two groan soundings follow as the young boy struggles to tie the laces with his small hands. A sudden swoosh sounding occurs as Alina steps forward, offering to tie the laces for him.
The princess kneels down to help, while Luis admits he didn't want to rely on her for such a small thing. Alina finishes with a cheerful smile, and Louise feels a surge of love while looking at her happy face.
Alina looks exhausted and expresses her intense desire to finally sleep in a real bed.
Louise calls out to the princess, pointing towards something he has spotted in the distance. A large wooden inn appears through the trees with a sudden and excited exclamation.
Alina wonders why an inn exists in the deep woods, and Louise suggests it's for travelers. Louise suggests they stay at the inn tonight, much to the princess's total surprise.
Alina finds the inn's location suspicious despite her previous complaints about the camping life. An ominous sounding occurs as Alina imagines a dark scenario involving unfamiliar shadows at a lonely inn.
Louise questions if her scenario is a comedy, while Alina warns about criminals hiding in such places. Louise mentions having stayed in similar places before, while the orange cat slime cries out in disagreement.
Alina stops and puts a hand to her chin to consider their options carefully.
She weighs the potential danger of the unknown guests against the hardship of the cold ground. Louise tells her to choose whatever is comfortable, as the orange cat slime continues its grumbling.
Alina happily decides to stay at the inn, much to the small slime's visible disappointment. With a sudden gulp sounding, Alina enters the building and notices many more customers than expected.
A noisy and rowdy sounding fills the air as rough men drink and chatter loudly.
Several rough characters give the pair glance soundings as they walk through the crowded room. A drag sounding occurs as they sit down, still followed by suspicious glances from the other guests.
Alina whispers her concern about the attention, but Louise notes her own behavior is drawing eyes.
The pair flinches with a startled sounding as a loud voice suddenly welcomes them to the inn. A brown-haired waitress asks what she can get for them and wonders why they look surprised. Alina orders soup, meat, and wine, though the waitress seems to hesitate for a moment. The brown-haired woman gives the pair an intense and uncomfortably long stare,
sounding.
Feeling the pressure of the gaze, Alina nervously asks if there is anything wrong.
The waitress denies having any issues while the princess and the boy watch her closely.
The woman dismisses her thoughts and compliments Alina's beauty before promising to bring the food. At the bar, the brown-haired waitress whispers to the bald barkeep as they watch the guests.
The pair at the counter gives another suspicious glance, sounding back toward the princess.
With a spring sounding, Alina stands up and tells Louise they should leave immediately.
With a bite sounding and 2 shake soundings, Alina panics that the staff is also suspicious.
Louise asks the princess how she became so suspicious of every person they meet.
Alina bites her nail, fearing that any mistake on her part would put him in danger. The blonde boy lets out a small sound of realization while looking up at her.
With a sniffle sounding, Louise starts to cry, causing Alina to panic and ask what happened.
The young boy looks down sadly, admitting he doesn't like seeing her so stressed.
Alina pulls the boy into a hug, her expression softening with a look of genuine affection. The princess asks if he truly wants her to return to her previous clueless self.
Louise smiles sweetly and agrees that her current vigilance is all for his sake.
A loud slam sounding occurs as the meat order is roughly dropped onto their wooden table.
The brown-haired woman stares again, prompting Alina to offer a very nervous thank you. The waitress continues to observe the princess's face with a strange and pensive expression.
The woman shakes off her suspicion, insisting to herself that her thoughts are impossible. She regains her cheerful demeanor and tells them to enjoy their meal as Alina remains confused. 2 more suspicious glance soundings follow as the brown-haired waitress walks away from the pair. The waitress shows Alina to a spacious room and asks for the keys at the counter.
The brown-haired woman winks and wishes them a comfortable night before turning to leave.
Alina tells the woman to wait, stopping her before she can walk out of the room. The princess asks the waitress directly if she has anything more she wants to say. The waitress apologizes for staring, admitting that Alina resembles someone she once knew long ago.
With a pensive sounding, she mentions she never expected to see someone so beautiful. The brown-haired woman laughs it off, claiming the resemblance must be a simple mistake.
Alina stands protectively in front of Louise, who looks visibly startled by something.
A humorous illustration highlights Alina's fierce protection of Louise against every new stranger they encounter.
The waitress beams while explaining her origins in Aurelia and her devotion to the princess.
In a memory, the young woman waits expectantly in a crowd for a glimpse of royalty.
The scene shifts to Alina waving gracefully from a carriage during a grand national celebration. The woman's eyes sparkle with admiration as she recalls the life-changing moment she saw Alina. Back in the present, the clerk stares intensely at Louise, noting his suspicious resemblance to royalty. She continues her scrutiny, suggesting the boy looks exactly how the princess's child might appear. The waitress asks point-blank if the woman standing before her is actually Princess Alina herself. Later in their room, Alina collapses onto the mattress with a heavy flop sounding. She suggests they wash up and rest immediately, admitting her exhaustion from the long journey.
Alina privately resolves to hide her identity more carefully to avoid further dangerous complications.
Louise feels a heavy thump sounding in his chest, wondering if she is burdened by him.
The princess urges the boy to sleep first, while Louise softly insists she should rest too. She smiles warmly while wishing him good night, though she privately seems troubled and deeply pensive.
Louise is haunted by thoughts that Alina is ashamed to show him to her loyal people.
Dark voices in his mind whisper that he is merely a nuisance blocking the princess's bright future.
The boy trembles in the darkness, tearfully rejecting the cruel thoughts that plague his mind.
He imagines the disappointment of the king and queen waiting for a proper heir to return.
From the shadows, Louise overhears Alina telling Jamie that her actions are entirely her own choice. The waitress urges the princess to trust her, leaving Louise stunned that her identity was revealed. The boy's heart shatters as he hears Alina loudly declare that he is not her child. He accepts her words as truth, yet feels a painful whoosh and squeeze sounding in his chest.
A cold, oppressive aura surrounds the boy as he processes the weight of her public denial.
Jamie asks about the boy's true identity, but Alina explains she cannot reveal the full story. The princess looks toward him with a soft gaze, her expression filled with a hidden, gentle warmth.
Alina happily encourages the boy to eat as she watches him enjoy a large plate of ribs.
Looking upward, the princess admits she finally feels much better after speaking with her loyal subject. Distant memories of the prince in peril flash by, reinforcing Alina's need to keep him safe.
Jamie expresses her unwavering loyalty, vowing that she will never forget the princess's kindness.
Alina contemplates her duty to trust her people if she ever hopes to lead them properly.
She reaches out to the sleeping boy, noticing the traces of tears on his face with shock.
The princess watches him sleep, wondering if the young prince has been plagued by another nightmare. A moment of quiet introspection follows as Alina gazes at him with an unreadable, somber expression.
The next morning, a cheerful Alina invites Louise to start their journey toward the next village.
She notes the boy's lingering fatigue, attributing his tired state to a poor night of rest.
Louise is taken by a sudden and flinch sounding as Alina reaches out to fix his cape. He insists on handling the task himself, while the princess resolves to pay more attention to him.
Jamie, now wearing a traveling cloak, smiles brightly as she prepares to guide the royal pair.
The woman stands by a horse-drawn carriage, expressing her immense honor at serving the princess today.
Alina invites the boy to board the carriage, and Louise quietly nods his agreement to proceed.
The young boy trembles with two tremble soundings while struggling to climb up the high wooden step.
He continues to reach for the edge of the carriage, his small frame straining to ascend.
Jamie offers a helping hand, noting that the carriage is quite high for someone his size.
He stubbornly insists on his independence while the woman laughs at his gentlemanly pride with a struggle sounding.
Louise strains with a struggle, and creak sounding as he tries to pull himself up.
A swift sounding occurs as the boy is suddenly seized and lifted upward from behind. Alina hoists the boy up with a lift sounding, telling him she is there to help him. A close-up reveals Louise's wide green eye, frozen in a state of absolute breathless shock. Alina asks if he is hurt, while the pouting boy grumbles that he had things under control.
Alina looks shocked as Louise shouts that he is not her child anyway.
A close-up of the boy's teary green eye as he continues his emotional outburst. Louise starts wailing loudly, startling Alina as she watches him crumble in tears. The princess asks what happened while the boy cries that she surely hates him now. Alina is bewildered and asks him why he would ever think they were strangers. With a sniffle sounding, Louise claims that if he cannot be her husband, he is nobody.
Alina tries to comfort him in a playful way, offering candy while he continues pouting.
With a swift sounding, Louise snaps at her, demanding she stop treating him like a kid. With a sniffle and wipe sounding, Alina apologizes for the way she has been behaving. The princess continues to comfort the sniffling boy, trying to understand his sudden outburst. Louise is shown crying and rubbing his eye, clearly overwhelmed by his own emotions. Alina looks at him with a gentle and pained expression, realizing his deep-seated fears. The boy hides his face against the princess's cloak as she pulls him into a hug.
Alina realizes with two pot soundings that his outburst was born from extreme internal pressure.
Jamie, driving the carriage, asks from off-panel if the child has finally calmed down. Alina strokes the sleeping boy's head, noting he is worn out from his crying fit. The princess asks if Jamie heard everything, and the waitress apologizes for her unintended eavesdropping. Jamie questions if this small boy really saved the princess from the high tower. The brown-haired woman is shown in shock, sweating at the sheer impossibility of the situation. Jamie cannot fathom how a small child conquered the kingdom's most difficult and dangerous tower. Alina realizes Jamie is overthinking the situation and trying to rationalize it with intense logic. With a halt sounding, Jamie stops her thought, while Alina looks on with mild confusion. Jamie imagines a future where the young boy and princess stand together as royals. The woman's face goes blank as she contemplates the extreme difficulty of such a match. Alina observes Jamie's state of chaotic confusion while she maintains a flat, awkward expression. The princess coughs and mentions that the marriage age in Aurelia is officially over 15. Jamie panics about the legal issues and the 10-year wait that would be required. The waitress gives up on the logic while Alina thanks her for her genuine concern. Alina acknowledges Jamie's worries but admits she cannot share all the secret details. The princess looks down at the sleeping prince, anticipating more practical problems ahead. Alina looks forward with a determined but somber expression as the carriage moves onward. Narration asks if the idea of trusting and relying on someone is scary for him. Alina wonders if words are sufficient to properly reassure the young boy's fragile heart. A memory shows the prince holding a contract and asserting they signed it together.
Alina is shown with wide, sparkly blue eyes reflecting on her duty to the boy.
With a rattle sounding, Louise wakes up with a start while sitting in the carriage. With 2 rummage soundings, Louise looks over to see Alina digging through old papers. The boy asks what she is doing, and Alina brightly notes that he is finally awake. The princess shows him a stack of papers, explaining she is reviewing their previous contracts.
Louise looks surprised, wondering why she would be focusing on paperwork at this moment.
Louise asks why she is making a new one while looking over several ancient scrolls.
Alina explains that the situation has changed since the tower, requiring new and specific terms.
She notes the previous contract lacked details regarding curses or any compensation for him. Alina presents a single piece of paper with a ta-da sounding, announcing she is done. Louise takes the paper, realizing it is a simple and handwritten wish coupon.
The princess laughs and warns him to use it carefully, but he decides immediately.
Louise tearfully declares his wish is for her to never abandon him at the kingdom. Alina is momentarily stunned as the boy shouts his desperate wish to stay together. The princess smiles warmly and begins to write his wish onto the official contract paper. As the carriage rolls onward, Louise admits he thought she wanted to hide him away. Alina asks Louise why he would ever think such things, and he reminds her that she claimed hiding her identity was because of him. Louise looks down, confessing his fear that his existence is a source of shame rather than pride for the princess. Alina breaks into a bright laugh while ruffling the boy's hair, assuring him his worries are completely misplaced. She clarifies that she only kept her secret to protect him from the dangers her name might attract. Louise is stunned into silence as Alina explains that everything she did was for his sake. The princess asks how much her previous actions bothered him, noting the sadness he was carrying. Alina admits her distance was caused by her own inner conflict and the weight of her responsibilities. She explains her guilt over the fact that her subjects have to lie to ensure her safety. The princess confesses she feels disillusioned by her own inability to fully trust her loyal people. Louise looks at her with wide eyes, realizing he never considered the pressure she was under. Alina cheerily declares herself a goddess of luck for finding such good people to rely on. Louise sits in the carriage, reflecting on the depth of the princess's concerns about her duty to her kingdom. He tells her that she already possesses the qualities of a great monarch and is truly loved by her people. Jamie turns from the driver's seat to agree enthusiastically, listing all the ways the country admires their princess. Narration ponders if the prince's desire to return to his true body is motivated by marriage. Louise looks away and admits that marriage is likely part of his motivation.
He recalls that his initial purpose for helping her was to secure a dowry and compensation.
Alina asks if he truly wants to be part of a couple with her, but he demurs. The boy clarifies that his only true wish is to be able to stay by her side. Alina smiles softly at the prince, touched by his simple and honest devotion. A silhouette of Alina reflects that it wasn't a future husband she was waiting for during her long isolation. She watches the prince with deep affection, privately identifying him as the one who truly saved her life. Jamie indicates that the border is just ahead, and Alina thanks her while hoping for a safe reunion. The waitress bids a formal and kind farewell to the young prince, wishing him good health. Louise covers his mouth as 2 laugh soundings escape, finding the woman's farewell endearing. Jamie is overwhelmed by the etiquette required for royalty, while the prince encourages her to be at ease. The woman gives the boy a sudden and tight hug, urging him to protect the princess well. Jamie suddenly pulls Alina into an embrace, promising her unwavering loyalty and support. With a clench sounding, the princess returns the hug and thanks Jamie for her immense kindness. Jamie waves a final goodbye as she watches them depart toward the border. With a sniffle sounding, Alina and Louise look back with teary eyes as they leave their friend behind.
A group of travelers in a carriage is stopped by armored soldiers on the road.
Knights of the Aurelia Kingdom block the path, demanding information from the wary travelers. An armored knight holds up a sketch of Princess Alina, asking if anyone has seen her. The travelers coughed with 2 cough soundings, looking nervous under the knight's intense scrutiny. With a cough and a hem sounding, the hooded man speculates if the woman in the drawing is a fugitive. A close-up shows the pencil sketch of the pink-haired princess used by the search party. The red-haired woman asks how knights from the eastern continent traveled so far for a single person. The stoic knight ignores her question and commands them to report any sightings of the woman. The brown-haired traveler suddenly claims he recognizes the person in the drawing. The travelers react with shock as a whoosh sounding occurs, and the knight demands more details. They confirm her identity, noting that a woman of such beauty is impossible to forget.
The armored knight presses them for her exact location and her intended destination.
The red-haired woman lies, claiming they befriended the lady and escorted her to a village.
The hooded man adds that they even covered her travel costs and provided horses for her journey.
The elderly driver describes her distinctive pink hair and blue eyes to the listening knights. The brown-haired traveler smiles greedily as he insists he is certain about the woman's identity. With a swish sounding, the traveler asks about a reward, while the knight reaches into the carriage.
With a grob sounding, the knight seizes the red-haired woman's wrist as she cries out in alarm.
The woman's expression shifts to outrage as she snaps at the knight for being rude. The red-haired woman flirts with the knight, admiring his impressive strength. The stoic knight ignores her, demanding to know where she got the bracelet. He identifies the jewelry as a favorite belonging of the princess herself.
The brown-haired man claims the princess gave it away out of gratitude.
With a turn sounding, the knight's attention shifts to something on a crate.
He questions them about using an item as a carpet on the crate.
The knight identifies the blue cloth as the national flag of Aurelia.
The travelers nervously insist the princess just handed the flag to them.
With a rattle sounding, he uncovers a magic mirror among their belongings.
He asks if she truly handed over all of her most precious belongings.
The black-haired knight asks the group if they saw a child.
The traveler describes a small boy the woman claimed was her son. The knight is visibly shaken by the claim that the princess has a son. Another knight warns the group that lying will lead to their execution. The man insists he is sure she called the young boy her son. He claims the two of them looked exactly like a real family together. The knight dismisses the idea as impossible due to the short time frame.
He orders his knights to notify the kingdom and head for Kral.
The scene shifts to a large, clean town with many timber-framed buildings. Alina admires the town while the silver-haired boy eats a bag of cookies.
A large castle looms at the end of the town's main road.
Alina hopes her friend Lulu achieved her wish of living in a palace. She feels nervous about arriving empty-handed, but the boy urges her forward. Two armored guards suddenly block their path with a pair of crossed spears.
Alina explains that her mother is a longtime friend of Queen Lulu.
She asks the guards to announce her presence as Princess Alina of Aurelia.
A guard from the Royal Guard of Varnia refuses to deliver any messages.
Alina and the boy are confused by the guard's lack of response. She asks for an explanation while the boy wonders if he is a statue. With a wish sounding, the guard uses his spear to block her path.
The guard tells her the queen is not a common neighborhood friend.
He demands proof of her identity, noting her suspicious lack of escorts.
Alina sighs and prepares to show him proof of her royal identity.
She holds out a patterned blue handkerchief she believes Lulu will recognize. The guards admit they have never seen the item before, making it useless. Frustrated, she demands they tell the queen she is there once and for all. The guard finally reveals that the queen is away on maternity leave.
A hooded figure watches the group as Alina collapses in shock and defeat.
The mysterious person notes Alina's royal title with a look of intrigue. A yellow slime plays a tiny violin while the pair sits in despair.
Alina suggests staying in the town until her friend Lulu returns.
She panics over the map, realizing the extreme distance back home to Aurelia. The boy disagrees, arguing they cannot stay without knowing her return date.
He points out their lack of funds to survive for a whole year.
They bicker about camping in the woods again while sitting in the street.
The guard tells them to take their loud argument somewhere else immediately.
The pair sits in silence as the slime continues its somber violin music.
As sunset approaches, Alina decides they will stay, despite their tight budget.
Night falls over a domed palace, shifting the scene to an office interior. With two knock soundings, a man with light blue hair invites someone inside. The silver-haired man with glasses receives a report addressed to him as the king. A soft swish sounding occurs as the official report is unfurled for reading. A sudden dun-dun sounding captures the king's shock as he reads of the ruined castle. He lets out a phew sound of relief upon discovering his daughter is unharmed.
The king reflects on the commander's dramatic nature while feeling relieved the princess is safe.
With a tired sigh sounding, the king removes his glasses to contemplate the mixed news. Moonlight blankets the palace as the king considers the weight of Knight Commander Prey's mission. Alina calculates their rising in costs while a snooze and yawn sounding fills the room. Their pouch holds a meager 650,000 seths spread out across the dark table. The princess realizes their current funds will not last them even a single week. She watches the boy sleep,
dreading the possibility of them ending up on the streets. Despair and worry weigh heavily on Alina as she ponders their difficult situation. A memory surfaces of a black-haired boy being mocked by others as a mere rat. Two boys block his path with a bump sounding, teasing him for being so small. A grit sounding reflects the boy's anger as he refuses to be defined by a nickname. A sudden smack sounding hits his head as the bullies continue their relentless harassment. The purple-haired boy chuckles at him, unaware that even a cornered rat will eventually bite. With a fast grab and swing sounding, the boy flips the bully over his shoulder. The bully hits the cobblestones with a painful slam sounding and a cry of agony.
The black-haired boy warns the bullies that he will never tolerate being looked down upon.
The bully runs away crying for his mother while onlookers watch the confrontation in silence. Despite his constant efforts to grow, the boy laments his small and unchanging stature. A tall man comforts him, explaining that he too was once called short at that age. The boy identifies the man as his father, Arthur, the official royal gardener.
He looks at his tall father with immense pride and hope for his own growth.
The scene shifts to the sprawling, ornate gardens located within the royal palace grounds. A voice calls out to the boy while he works diligently among the garden cabbages.
Two armored guards confront him, claiming he has no right to be in the princess's garden.
The boy explains he is the gardener's son, simply there to help his father. The guards laugh mockingly, telling him his presence is an eyesore in such a place. They laugh together, imagining the princess screaming at the sight of a rat-like boy. The boy stands up, accusing the guards of ruining the royal palace's reputation with their rudeness. His bold retort leaves the two armored men momentarily stunned and deeply offended. A guard roughly seizes him with a grab sounding, calling him an arrogant little brat.
The knight delivers a brutal blow with a heavy wham sounding, knocking the boy down.
The abuse continues with a smack sounding as the boy suffers under the guards' cruelty. They claim to be just having fun while the injured boy struggles on the ground. With a crack sounding, the knights prepare to deliver a lesson on royal etiquette. A fist is thrown toward the boy as the guard prepares to strike again.
A young, pink-haired girl in a fine dress appears, staring at the scene in shock.
Through the legs of his tormentors, the boy realizes he is seeing the princess.
The guards immediately panic and try to hide their actions from the young girl.
They lie to her, claiming they were merely teaching manners to a troublesome intruder.
The boy shouts his defense, insisting he has permission to be in the garden.
The young princess sternly reminds the knights that their duty is to protect the people. She scolds the guards, telling them they should be deeply ashamed of their abusive behavior. The boy is left in awe, thinking the princess is the coolest person he has met.
She approaches him with concern, gently asking if he is all right after the attack.
She is stunned into silence by her kindness as she asks if he is hurt. Arthur runs into the garden calling for prey while the boy looks up at his father. Arthur bows before the princess, begging forgiveness for his son as Prey watches in surprise.
Alina tells Arthur to stand up, explaining that her guards were actually the ones at fault.
A moment of quiet reflection as the princess looks down at her hands with a sad expression. The guards tremble in fear as the princess confronts them, while Prey watches the scene unfold. Prey admits his own rudeness, scratching his cheek as he reflects on his behavior in the garden. A warm and gentle smile from the pink-haired princess melts any remaining tension in the air.
Prey's heart races with a sudden bump sounding as he blushes while looking at the princess.
With a grab and dash sounding, Alina takes his hand and excitedly offers to help him. As they walk, she invites him to garden with her, causing his heart to race with more bump soundings. The princess laughs brightly, asking for the boy's name while his heart continues its loud bump sounding.
He introduces himself as Prey, secretly noting he might actually be the older one between them.
Alina's joyful laughter fills the garden, leaving the young boy completely captivated by her presence. In the present, Knight Commander Prey reacts with concern to news of a curse involving the princess. The knight declares his singular focus on the princess's safety, dismissing any rumors as secondary. At the inn, Alina checks on the boy after his nightmare while noting their expensive breakfast costs. She gently asks about the details of his dream, concerned for his mental well-being. A dark memory of past torment surfaces, involving a man pouring wine while mocking him. The nightmare continues as the cold liquid drenching his hair serves as a painful reminder of past cruelty. He recalls fleeing his home, looking back at a distant castle through a bitter snowstorm. Shaking with a chomp sounding, the boy eats his bread while fearing his past will catch him. Alina watches him with deep sympathy, wishing she could protect him from his own memories. She announces she is heading out to find work, asking what he plans to do today.
The boy immediately offers to accompany her, not wanting to be left alone in the town.
Alina hesitates, explaining that his presence might not be suitable for the tasks she has planned.
He questions if her goal is the palace, but she clarifies her intent is purely financial. He is skeptical of a princess working, but she tells him to stop questioning her determination.
Alina highlights their desperate financial situation as the reason she must secure a source of income.
She expresses genuine excitement for her first job, though the boy remains deeply unconvinced.
Alina jokingly offers him tiny payouts for daily chores, which he finds completely absurd.
She firmly tells him he is too young for a job, leaving him feeling frustrated by the unfairness.
Alina reassures him of her capability, feeling fortunate that she can contribute during this difficult time. The boy offers her a massage instead, hoping to provide some comfort after her work.
He insists he likes her hands just as they are, despite her humble warning about her strength.
At a public notice board, Alina is stunned by a listing for a high-paying job.
A decorative flyer features a dragon and a staggering reward of 100 million seths. Alina mistakenly believes the quest is for a dragon's birthday party, imagining a cute celebratory event. With a huff sounding, the boy clarifies that the party is actually a deadly encounter. He uses a small pointer to explain that it is a dangerous raid, not a celebration. He highlights the peril involved, questioning if anyone will survive to claim the massive reward. With a tremble and pot sounding, Alina and the slime share a moment of pure shock. The boy details the extreme difficulty of the mission, stressing that it is beyond most hunters' skills. He labels the quest a suicide mission for cannon fodder, causing Alina to turn pale with fear. He flatly refuses to let her go, and she quickly agrees after learning the truth. Her attention is caught by another recruitment poster located further down on the board. With a point sounding, she notices a guild offering a joining bonus of 5 million seths. She is blinded by the potential riches while the boy watches with a suspicious glance sounding. He warns her that guilds often exploit new members, treating them as little more than slaves. With a dun-dun sounding, she realizes the potential horrors of joining a group that treats members like dirt. He mentions his difficult past with a chuckle sounding when she asks about his extensive knowledge. Alina considers more traditional roles, but remains focused on finding a high-paying opportunity to save them. Alina and the white-haired boy are taken aback by a sudden, loud, startled, and jump sounding from behind. An armored man approaches the duo with a friendly suggestion for their current search for employment. A shy, brown-haired girl peers out curiously from behind the armored man's leather gear. The two groups sit together on a long bench amidst the constant bustle sounding of the hall. An adventurer discusses the local job system, noting how well organized it is for newcomers in the city.
Alina gives the man a surprised stare, sounding as they sit together in the guild hall.
The young girl greets the boy with a bashful greeting, as he replies with a shy stutter.
The man lets out a loud laugh while the girl leans in with a quiet whisper sounding.
The armored man gently places a gloved hand on the young girl's head as she looks down.
Kane explains his need for a high-ranking quest while Alina expresses her sympathy for Maya's illness.
Alina promises to return quickly as she heads off to find a suitable mission for them.
The boy shouts a safety warning to Alina as she confidently walks toward the notice boards. Kane is visibly shocked to learn that the young woman is actually the boy's mother. Maya fixes the white-haired boy with an intense and slightly unsettling glare sounding from beside her father. The boy is completely bewildered by the girl's intense stare, sounding, and wonders if he offended her.
Alina presents a mandrake gathering quest, excitedly claiming that it is a safe choice for beginners.
Alina boasts of her luck, while the boy reminds her that she was trapped for a decade. The boy grants his permission for the mission, since it appears significantly safer than the other options.
Louis asks Alina if she successfully secured the gathering mission she had been looking at.
Kane warns Alina that gathering mandrakes is surprisingly difficult for someone just starting as an adventurer.
Kane explains that he has been assigned a high-paying but difficult hunting mission for his next job.
Kane worries about his daughter while Louis watches the conversation with a quiet gaze sounding. Louis and Maya exchange a tense stare, sounding as Kane realizes both children must stay behind. Alina sounds like a mother while the children share a suspicious stare sounding in the background. The two children stand side by side in the square, looking slightly uncomfortable with their new arrangement. The children react with pure disbelief at the prospect of being left alone together.
The parents believe the children will enjoy each other's company and avoid boredom while they work. Alina proudly vouches for the boy's intelligence and promises Maya will be safe under his care. The boy is outraged that the princess made such a major decision without consulting him first. Kane asks Maya if she is comfortable staying with her new white-haired friend for a while. Louis assumes Maya will refuse the arrangement because she clearly seems to dislike his presence. Maya subverts all expectations by offering a surprisingly bright and cheerful smile to the adults. Alina leans down to ask Louis if he is also okay with the temporary childcare plan. Alina and Kane wait for the boy's response to their joint plan for the children. Maya's expression shifts into a terrifying stare, sounding that leaves the boy completely frozen with fear.
Maya silences the boy's protest with a sudden and very forceful smack sounding to his back.
Maya cheerfully claims the boy loves the idea while he remains in a state of stunned shock. Back at the inn, the boy's angry shouting about the unfair decision echoes through the room.
Alina feels glum sounding as she tries to justify the childcare arrangement to the frustrated boy.
The boy lets out a long groan, sounding while sitting cross-legged on the bed in protest. He insists that Maya clearly hates him, despite having no idea why she feels that way.
Alina laughs at his concern, teasingly suggesting that the girl's intense interest might actually be affection.
Alina admits that Kane was right about the dangers of leaving him alone in town.
Alina feels glum sounding as she notes the vulnerabilities of his current childlike physical form.
A pained groan and an ah sounding drift through the room as the boy sleeps fitfully.
Alina wakes with a start to a soft groan sounding and the boy's muffled, pained apologies.
She sits up in her nightgown, looking at the sleeping prince with an expression of deep concern.
The boy struggles in his sleep with more pained groan and groan soundings during his nightmare.
Alina wonders why the nightmares persist as she watches the boy's troubled sleep with sympathy. With a gentle stroke sounding, Alina reassures the prince that she is right there to protect him. Louis sleeps fitfully with a Z and Z sounding as sweat beads on his forehead. Alina watches the prince with a worried expression, doubting the wisdom of leaving him alone. Outside the inn, the parents bid farewell to their children while reminding them of their daily medicine. Kane kneels to give Maya a long list of safety instructions, which she patiently acknowledges.
With a squeeze sounding, Maya tells her father not to worry and asks him to stay safe.
Maya clings to her father with another squeeze, sounding as the other pair watches the emotional goodbye. Alina reassures Kane of Maya's safety with a top sounding on Louis' shoulder. Louis confidently claims he possesses the intellect of an adult man, promising Maya is in good hands. Kane instructs Maya to look after Louis, prompting the boy to take offense at the suggestion. Maya waves cheerfully to her departing father while Alina and Louis stand nearby. After the parents disappear, Maya's expression turns teary as she struggles with the separation. Alina praises Maya's bravery while acknowledging how painful it is to be apart from her father. Maya breaks down into a loud crying as Alina pulls her into a comforting hug. As night falls, the group discusses dinner plans over a request for ice cream. The next day, Louis reminds Alina that her safety must be her absolute top priority.
He expresses his low expectations for the mission, only wanting her to return without injury.
Alina playfully sticks her tongue out, promising to return with a large haul of mandrakes. She tells Maya to listen to Louis before deciding they should just try to get along.
Alina suddenly bursts into tears, clinging to Louis and refusing to leave him for a week.
She continues her lengthy list of nightmare-related warnings with a blah and blah sounding. Louis asks for a safe return, while Alina promises she will come back to him. With a sniffle sounding and a teary wave, Louis watches Alina depart, while Maya stands silently.
Maya smirks and mocks the boy's emotional state, but he mutters that she also cried.
An awkward silence falls over the two children as they wonder what to do next. Maya suddenly turns with a spin and turn sounding, catching the white-haired boy off guard. She takes off with a sprint and rush sounding, forcing the boy to chase after her. Louis struggles to keep up with her speed, letting out a tired pant and pant sounding. Inside the room, Maya grabs the golden slime with a forceful pull sounding. The boy sits on the bed, feeling completely out of his element, talking to a young girl.
Maya aggressively handles the slime with a stretch sounding as Louis notes her quick attachment to it.
Louis attempts to establish his authority by claiming he is actually older than she is.
Maya's expression shifts into a dark and unsettling gaze that leaves the boy confused.
She demands he call her Nuna and threatens him with violence if he doesn't obey.
With a sudden turn away, Maya goes to sleep while Louis shouts in frustration.
Louis collapses to his knees with a tremble and tremble sounding, terrified by her true nature.
Maya suddenly doubles over with a groan sounding, clutching her chest as the slime watches.
The boy rushes to her side in a panic, asking if she is seriously injured.
He frantically offers medicine or a hospital visit, but she weakly tells him to be quiet.
Maya lets out a long and weary sigh, sounding as her pain begins to subside.
Louis asks if she feels better while she offers a silent nod sounding of confirmation. He questions the nature of her illness and how frequently these painful episodes occur.
Maya expresses a deep weariness of life, leaving the boy completely stunned by her confession.
The young girl sits quietly on the floor, her expression filled with a profound sadness. She tearfully confesses her belief that her existence has ruined her father's life.
A dark memory flashes back to a man telling Louis his mother died because of him. The memory continues as the man explains why Louis's own brother turned his back on him.
Louis stares at Maya with wide eyes, deeply affected by the similarity of their past traumas. Maya notes that, unlike him, she is accustomed to her father being away.
She tells him he cannot understand her because his mother showers him with constant love.
Louis silently watches the girl sleep before covering her with a blanket with a rustle sounding.
The boy reflects that the girl's strong exterior hides a lonely childhood spent without her father.
A brown-haired waitress in a tavern welcomes her customers with a bright, friendly greeting.
Her attention is drawn to 3 knights in blue and white armor, entering with a rhythmic step sounding.
The bald boss and waitress are startled by the unrecognizable uniforms of the visiting inspectors.
The waitress suddenly realizes the men are knights from her homeland of Aurelia. A white armored knight asks the staff if they have recently seen a specific individual.
The waitress eagerly asks if the knights are searching for the princess.
She excitedly explains that she met the princess and even drove her to the city of Varnia. The knight in the white and blue armor stands silently while listening to her story. Claiming to be Aurelian, the waitress jokingly hints at a reward for her information. She starts to reveal that the princess is traveling to Aurelia, accompanied by a young prince.
The waitress stops herself, remembering that the princess explicitly requested she keep their travel plan secret.
She clarifies that the princess was with a handsome boy who possessed the appearance of royalty. The knights discuss her report, concluding that the mention of the boy confirms she is telling the truth. Recognizing a specific voice, the waitress asks if the man is actually Knight Commander Prey. She reveals she is a fan who wrote stories about Prey and Alina being together.
A sudden gasp sounding escapes the waitress as she realizes she has become distracted from the urgent news. She gives a forceful point sounding, telling the knights to leave for Varnia immediately to catch the princess.
A weary sigh sounding escapes the white-haired boy as he sits alone, questioning his current situation. He feels dejected being stuck inside while the adults work, ignoring the golden creature beside him. The boy wonders if there are any meaningful tasks available for someone in his 5-year-old body.
A receptionist tells the boy no missions exist for 5-year-olds and asks where his parents are.
She suggests play missions for children, but the boy insists he is looking for real work.
A frustrated tisk sounding escapes the boy as he leaves the job center empty-handed.
While walking outside, the white-haired boy suddenly stops as his attention is caught by a surprise sounding. A sudden whack sounding hits the boy's head as the girl screams that she was worried about him. Maya scolds him for wandering alone, while the boy weakly apologizes for stepping outside. She rants about the dangers of kidnapping, while he tries to appease her with an ice cream offer. The brown-haired girl screams in a rage, refusing to let his actions slide for a simple treat. Maya happily eats the snack as the boy realizes how easily children are swayed.
While eating their cones, Maya asks if he was actually out trying to find a job.
Louis admits he felt guilty playing while the adults worked so hard to earn money.
Maya praises his maturity. Louis explains the strict government age restrictions at the center, while Maya expresses her own desire for money.
A long sigh sounding follows Maya's complaint that there is nothing for children to do.
The boy looks at the city buildings, desperately wondering if any employer would hire a child.
He spots a high-paying mission poster for a dragon with absolutely no application requirements. A bright twinkle sounding fills the boy's eyes as he considers taking on the high-reward task.
He quickly experiences a droop sounding, remembering his own advice about avoiding dangerous activities.
The boy crouches down in despair, lamenting his inability to be useful in his current form.
While sitting on a stone step, a quick glance sounding draws the boy's attention toward a poster. A nearby notice board displays a poster for a lost dog, offering a significant reward.
With a sudden surprise sounding, Louis points out a new plan to the confused girl. A constant chatter sounding follows them as Maya scolds him for spending his snack money.
Louis tells the girl he did not buy the food for his own consumption.
Maya calls a large gray rat gross while the rodent lets out a loud squeak sounding.
Louis tells Maya she is mean and offers a ring-shaped snack to the small creature.
A cautious peek sounding comes from the rat as it stares at the offered treat.
With a quick snotch sounding, the rat grabs the snack and looks up at the children.
The boy tells the rat to bring its friends and parents back for more, as it makes a dash sounding away.
Maya mocks Louis's big plan after the small rat simply runs away. The girl calls the boy immature for wasting money on rodent snacks. Maya is stunned when a gasp sounding escapes her as the rat returns with reinforcements. A massive swarm sounding of rats gathers, following the lead of the first small creature. Maya questions if they understood him, while Louis tells the rodents to form a line. A rhythmic shuffle sounding follows as the rats actually obey the white-haired boy's commands.
Louis promises more treats if the rats can find the dog shown on his poster. The boy holds up the lost dog notice for the gathered rat search team.
He instructs the rodents to memorize the puppy's appearance to aid in their hunt.
Louis tells a white rat to coordinate with its friends to find the missing pet.
The white rat takes charge, using a stick to brief the other rodents on their mission.
A sudden squeak and squeak sounding alerts the children that the search was a success. The missing dog is discovered sitting sadly behind metal bars in a dark alleyway. A tearful sob sounding escapes the dog's owner as she finally reunites with her pet. The pink-haired woman expresses her gratitude while the children watch with a grin sounding.
The owner beams with joy while holding her pet, Lucky, in the city center.
She asks if they are alone while Louis claims they found the dog by themselves.
The woman hands them a heavy sack of money, advising them to spend it wisely. A final thank you echoes across the square as the woman departs with her dog. A narration box details the surprising success of Louis's unique mice search team. Louis offers Maya half of the reward, totaling a staggering 500,000 seths. The girl hesitates to take the money, feeling she contributed very little to the task. Louis insists they worked as a team, prompting a teary thank you from the girl.
Maya stares at the boy with shimmering eyes, deeply touched by his unexpected generosity.
A loud sob sounding escapes Maya as she suddenly cries out for her father. A quiet sniffle follows as Maya admits she feels jealous of children who have mothers. The girl tearfully apologizes for being mean, while Louis tries to calm her down.
Louis reassures Maya that her father's love is a precious gift she should cherish.
With a gentle pat and pot sounding, Louis reminds Maya how lucky she truly is.
Maya asks if he will also be there for her, leaving the boy slightly flustered.
Kane returns to the room, looking battered and appearing in a very dark, somber mood. Maya gives her father a hug, sounding while Louis questions his unexpectedly early return.
The children's concern grows as they spot a bandage wrapped around the man's injured foot.
A heavy slump sounding follows Kane's apology for failing to earn any money on his trip. A memory shows Kane's leg giving out in the woods, preventing him from completing his mission. He laments his inability to work, explaining that he returned completely empty-handed.
Kane looks down in shame, expressing his desire to be a better father for Maya.
The man worries about the mounting costs of medicine and their living expenses.
A bright twinkle sounding fills the room as Maya presents the massive reward she earned.
Kane is left speechless by the sight of the money his daughter is holding. Maya beams with pride, explaining that she and Louis worked together to earn the reward. She encourages her father to use the money for his recovery and their needs. Kane is moved to tears, amazed by how much his daughter has grown in his absence. A narration describes how Maya eventually fell asleep peacefully right beside her father. Louis remains awake, brooding over the family's debt and Maya's seemingly incurable disease. He reflects on the unfairness of their situation and questions Alina's decision to leave him. The white-haired boy stares into the dark, feeling powerless to solve the family's problems. A thunderous dun sounding announces Alina's return, but she has become strangely muscular. Alina describes her mountain search, while Louis asks if she actually found a mandrake. A system notification reveals Alina's level has skyrocketed to 43, along with her strength.
Louis and Kane discuss the slim odds of finding a legendary mandrake.
A sudden ta-da sounding accompanies the mandrake's arrival, shocking the young boy.
A weary drip sounding follows as the exhausted princess describes her mountain search.
Alina highlights the plant's incredible value as both a magical and medicinal ingredient.
With a soft whisper sounding, she mentions its legendary power to cure incurable diseases.
Louis considers Maya's sickness, wondering why the princess is sharing this secret information.
The boy is stunned when Alina offers him the valuable plant as a gift.
She grants him the freedom to decide the mandrake's ultimate fate. Louis remains uncertain about what the princess truly expects him to do next. He weighs the choice between helping a sick girl or funding their royal journey.
The white-haired boy reflects on the heavy responsibility the princess has placed on him.
Louis clutches the plant closely, lost in deep contemplation about his next move. He looks up with a soft smile, finally certain of his chosen path.
A rowdy tavern erupts with a sudden crash and clang sounding during a fight.
A waitress chuckles while warning gamblers not to cause trouble in the dangerous establishment.
An orc reports finding a girl claiming to be a princess to his group.
A cat-eared girl describes a mysterious wanderer using the Aurelian princess's name.
The group dismisses the report, tired of the constant string of royal pretenders.
A mysterious hooded man sits in the shadows, hiding a dark, knowing smirk.
A loud knock sounding interrupts breakfast as Maya arrives to find her friend.
Alina invites the girl inside after a quick open sounding from the door.
Maya excitedly shares news about a famous traveling minstrel visiting their town.
The pink-haired princess looks surprised by the sudden mention of the famous performer.
A light blue-haired minstrel plays his lute, captivating the audience with his musical skill. He sings a dramatic, soulful ballad about star-crossed lovers separated by fate.
A high-pitched squeal sounding erupts from the female fans as the minstrel performs. Louis covers his ears in annoyance, unimpressed by the musician's loud performance. Alina admits she finds the artistic nature of the performer to be quite attractive.
A jealous ahem sounding escapes Louis as he tries to highlight his own artistic talents.
With a sudden dash sounding, Alina runs toward the stage to get a closer view.
Maya and the princess scream with joy, fully immersed in their fangirl excitement.
A painful choke sounding follows as Louis feels completely ignored by his companions.
A cold shiver sounding hits the boy as he realizes he is acting childish.
A hooded man with a facial scar sits beside Louis, asking why he's alone.
The stranger points at Alina, questioning if she is the boy's sister or girlfriend. He expresses a desire to try his luck with the beautiful woman in the crowd.
A fierce ha sounding escapes Louis as he claims the woman is his mother.
He warns the man to stay away with a firm and protective glare.
Later that evening, the blue-haired minstrel kneels before Alina in a grand hall.
Alina thanks Romeo for the invitation to such an elegant and beautiful dinner. Romeo expresses his honor at dining with someone of her incredible beauty and grace.
Louis sits uncomfortably at the table, desperately wishing he was back at the inn.
He remains skeptical of the man's intentions, despite the minstrel's smooth, flattering words.
A sudden poof sounding follows as Romeo suggests becoming a father figure for Louis.
Alina laughs at the joke, while Louis notes how much she enjoys the attention.
The princess had been incredibly excited about the meeting long before they arrived.
Romeo insists their meeting was destiny, much to Louis's growing annoyance and disbelief.
The minstrel declares Alina his muse, while Louis's protective guy senses flare up.
With a quiet whisper sounding, Romeo asks the boy to help him win over Alina.
Louis rejects the offer with a ha sounding, mocking the man's inferior character.
Romeo claims the girl's father is a bad man for leaving her alone, a sudden sniffle sounding as he begins to cry.
Louis glares with a dark expression, secretly wondering if he should just kill the man immediately.
Romeo asks Alina for permission to leave the table for a moment, while Louis assumes he is simply going to the restroom.
The white-haired boy wonders why so many men are pursuing the princess today, only to be startled when Alina calls out to him.
Alina praises Romeo's charm and popularity, while Louis silently notes how lucky it is that the princess is so clueless.
Romeo performs a cheesy musical proposal on the piano, much to Louis's intense annoyance.
The boy rants about how outdated the proposal is, claiming that young people aren't interested in such lame displays anymore. Romeo declares his desperate need for Alina, while Louis skeptically wonders if such a tactic could ever work on her.
Alina bursts into dramatic tears in response to the performance, with a narration box noting her surprisingly old-fashioned soul.
Louis stares blankly at Romeo's smiling face,
deeply regretting his decision to come here tonight.
Seeing the princess look so moved, Louis feels a pang of jealousy, seeing her so happy with another man. He eyes the lavish spread of food and gifts, realizing he has never provided such luxury for the princess before.
Louis reflects that Alina belongs to a world of glittering wealth and luxury, far removed from their current situation. The boy decides that if letting the princess go would truly make her happy, then that is what he must do. A sudden step and kneel sounding follows as Romeo approaches Alina, catching her completely off guard.
Romeo presents a glowing, ornate ring and confesses that he fell in love with her the moment they met.
He remains on one knee, offering the jewelry box to the surprised pink-haired woman. Romeo reiterates his love for Alina as the scene focuses on the grand and elegant dining hall.
A close-up shows Alina's wide-eyed and completely blank expression as she responds with a simple and confused inquiry.
Romeo's face drains of color as he lets out a stunned sound in response to her reaction. The princess asks if the entire dinner was meant to be something other than a fan meeting, leaving Romeo utterly baffled.
A heavy slump sounding accompanies Romeo's despair as Alina calls his behavior overwhelming, prompting a thought of poor guy from Louis.
With a quick turn sounding, Romeo begs for one more chance now that his true feelings are finally out in the open.
He gazes at her with renewed intensity, swearing that his desire to be with her is genuine. Alina closes her eyes with a somber and regretful expression, telling Romeo that she is truly sorry. She explains that her son is her top priority and there is no room for anyone else in her life. Romeo tries to argue that raising a child alone is difficult and offers to be the partner she needs.
Alina firmly rejects his help, asserting that she and her son can take care of themselves perfectly well.
She hopes he finds someone special as the scene shifts to the city square under a crescent moon. While walking home, Louis asks Alina what she will do about marriage if his curse can never be broken. Alina admits she hasn't considered it, causing Louis to let out a choke sounding while resolving to give her a clear answer. The princess confesses that marriage has never actually been an important priority for her personally.
She recalls how her country was obsessed with her marital prospects while she focused only on serving her parents and nation.
A memory shows Alina in formal court attire, having resigned herself to following the traditions and rules of her station.
Now she wonders if breaking those traditions might be better for the country and if her parents simply wanted her to be happy.
Alina tells Louis that he is the most important person to her right now, and he promises to support her decisions. The boy gives the princess a joyful hug, his face beaming with pure happiness. A dark-haired woman gazes into a crystal ball, asking a creature named Slaug if he can see the scene. A small red dragon holding a stuffed rabbit scolds the woman for spying and causing herself unnecessary emotional pain.
A repetitive blah blah sounding follows as the creature lectures her about the rules of breakups and the folly of spying.
The woman notes with surprise that she has never seen the prince laugh so freely before. She remembers their past together under the stars, realizing he never once laughed while he was by her side.
A swirling, abstract image depicts her first impression of the princess as someone who had resigned herself to fate.
Narration describes how all previous challengers were defeated by the dragon Slaug and the magical thorns guarding the tower. The woman, wearing a witch's hat, stands beside the red dragon and notes they finally have a new challenger. A lone man with light hair stands at the base of a snowy mountain range, looking up at a distant tower. The witch watches through a window, deciding to play the hostess despite her belief the challenger will never enter. On day 11, the man is shown persistently trimming the thorn bushes while the witch questions his pointless effort. By day 23, the man is covered in wounds as the witch notes the thorns are poisonous and painful. On day 42, the man sits weeping among the thorns, leading the witch to believe he will finally quit. On day 72, the witch notes that the boy is still pruning the thorns. The dark-haired witch wonders why Louis persists in such an impossible and grueling quest. She looks on with intense curiosity, desperate to know the identity of the mysterious challenger. A purple cat watches Louis from the shadows as a rustle sounding echoes through the air. With a quick step sounding, Louis reveals he knew he was being watched for days. A sudden toss sounding occurs as the cat drops a dead rodent in front of Louis. The cat realizes that Louis has run out of food and is surviving on scraps. Observing his exhausted face, the cat doubts that the boy can endure much more suffering.
Louis admits he hasn't spoken to anyone in ages while the cat watches him silently.
The cat urges the boy to give up his quest and return home to rest. Louis insists that saving the princess is his only option, even at the cost of his life.
The cat struggles to understand why he would work himself to death for his brother's sake.
Louis recalls his brother's orders to rescue the princess and secure the reward money for acknowledgement.
He confesses that they both knew from the beginning that the mission was actually impossible. The witch suddenly appears and shouts at him for pruning thorns until he drops dead.
She frantically begs Louis to run away and forget about his brother's cruel expectations.
A sharp slide sounding rings out as Louis looks up in surprise at the woman.
With a loud smack sounding, the witch hits Louis with a wooden board to erase his memory.
She panics after accidentally knocking him out, desperately apologizing for her clumsy and violent mistake.
A monochrome memory depicts their first meeting as a complete and total disaster for them both.
With a sudden shove sounding, she forces a sandwich into the mouth of the scrawny boy.
Time passes as Louis continues his pruning, looking much healthier despite his lack of progress.
Repetitive thwack and whack sounding fills the air as he hacks away at the thorns.
He continues his exhausting work well into the sunset, accompanied by more rhythmic hitting sounds.
Louis reflects on spending the entire day hacking away at the persistent, magical vines.
He sighs, knowing the thorns will simply grow back and reset his progress by tomorrow.
A sudden toss sounding occurs as Louis throws his axe away in a moment of despair.
He worries that a fire-breathing dragon would easily kill him even if he reached the castle. Gazing at his bloody, bandaged hands, Louis finally admits that there is no hope left. The witch returns at night, asking why he failed to respond to her earlier greeting.
Louis breaks down in tears, admitting that his life is filled with nothing but misery. A drip-drip sounding of tears follows as the witch wonders how a softie can rescue princesses.
Though he refuses to give up, the witch finds his vulnerable state to be quite endearing.
She gazes at him with sparkling, wide eyes, wondering if she is falling in love.
With a mischievous grin sounding, she claims to have found a way to rescue the princess. Louis looks up in shock as he hears her sudden and surprising claim of help.
She reminds the boy that this is her castle and she is capable of assisting him.
The witch warns that a deal with her always comes with a significant and personal cost.
Louis immediately rejects her help, leaving the witch stunned that he didn't even hear the condition.
Looking back, she notes that she couldn't bear to watch his determination fade into nothingness. In the end, she decided to help him by personally guiding him past the massive dragon. She advised him to ignore everyone's expectations and follow the desires of his own heart.
A memory shows the prince standing in fine clothing alongside another man in the royal court.
Ultimately, the witch laments that Louis still prioritized his brother's orders over his own happiness.
She reflects that Louis never truly wanted the glory or acknowledgement he sought from others. They sit together under a starry sky, a quiet place that Louis had always dreamed of.
Louis expresses his simple desire for a life filled with mutual and genuine love. The witch wonders if she could have been by his side if she had been more honest.
A warm memory shows the pink-haired princess carrying the small boy on her back.
Back in the present, the witch looks somber, wishing for someone to make Louis truly happy. A black-haired knight in silver armor announces their arrival at their destination. The scene reveals the sprawling, prosperous city of the Kingdom of Varnia under a clear sky.
A young girl named Maya cries out in protest as she clings to someone's arm.
A man reminds Maya of her promise to let Noah go as the princess watches the children.
Noah promises Maya he will return to visit her soon, urging her not to cry. Seeing Maya's tears makes Noah feel a deep sense of sadness as he reflects on their friendship.
Noah explains they must return home, but invites Maya to visit them in the future.
Through her tears, Maya asks Noah to promise he will marry her the next time they meet. The adults dismiss the proposal with laughter, stating that marriage is definitely not going to work.
Maya continues to sob as her father carries her away while saying goodbye.
Alina offers a final, cheerful farewell to Maya as she and Noah prepare to depart.
The princess and the young boy walk down a path together, leaving the village behind.
A gentle pat sounding follows as the man comforts the crying Maya after her friends leave. Hidden voices chatter in the woods, advising a prince that the real adventure has begun.
A tight squeeze sounding occurs as Noah holds Alina's hand, admitting that goodbyes are always difficult. Alina reassures the boy that they will see Maya again and calls him special. Noah stops and looks around, wondering if the princess just called him a prince.
A sudden turn sounding follows as Alina reacts in confusion to the boy's strange question. A heavy step sounding echoes as a mysterious figure approaches them from the forest shadows.
A hooded man suddenly appears and identifies Alina as the Princess of Aurelia, shocking her.
The scarred man grins menacingly, stating that his boss has requested to see the princess immediately.
Alina demands to know the stranger's identity as Noah hides fearfully behind her.
The princess demands to know how the stranger learned her true name and royal title.
A firm squeeze sounding of hands follows as Noah warns Alina not to trust the man.
A sudden grab sounding occurs as a massive green hand silences Alina from behind.
A frantic squirm sounding follows as Noah cries out for the princess while she struggles against her captor.
A dizzy sensation overcomes Alina as the attacker uses a drugged cloth to knock her out.
Repetitive whack-whack sounding fills the air as Noah desperately hits the green giant's leg.
A blue-skinned elf woman captures the struggling Noah, questioning what should be done with him. The elf is left holding only Noah's empty cape as the boy managed to slip away.
She stares at the discarded garment in confusion, wondering exactly when the child escaped.
Noah makes a quick jump sounding as he flees, while the kidnappers decide not to pursue. The group discusses the boy's surprising cleverness, but decides he is irrelevant to their mission. They move on with their captive princess, leaving Noah's abandoned cape behind in the clearing. The giant carries the unconscious princess away as her pink hair drapes over his shoulder.
Noah watches from behind a tree, heart filled with worry for the captured princess.
A spring sounding accompanies Alina's sudden outburst as she awakens and demands to be released.
Alina awakens in a strange room surrounded by hostile strangers who note she is finally awake.
The princess looks around in confusion, asking the group who they are and their intentions. Alina suddenly stops as she recognizes a familiar voice coming from a woman nearby. A sudden turn sounding follows as a blue-haired woman named Mary greets Alina with surprise. With a loud hug sounding, Alina joyfully embraces her long-lost friend, Mary. A tight squeeze sounding accompanies their reunion as both women admit how much they missed each other. Alina suddenly pulls away in a panic, asking about the whereabouts of her young companion. The scarred man explains that the boy ran away before they could bring him along. The princess insists that they must find the boy and bring him back immediately. Mary looks at Alina with skepticism, questioning if the child is truly her biological son. Alina beams with genuine joy, declaring that Noah is going to become part of her family. Noah continues to sprint and rush through the city, determined to call for help. A loud slam sounding occurs as the exhausted boy trips and falls flat on his face. Noah collapses in the street as a man asks if he is all right. Desperately, the scrawny boy begs the stranger to help him find assistance. Nearby, the black-haired knight in silver armor leads his men through the city. The knight stops as the crowd's sudden chatter sounding catches his keen attention. Villagers are startled by the appearance of royal guards within their city streets. A man alerts the guards that a boy's mother has been abducted nearby. Noah looks shocked as he hears the knight mention the kingdom of Aurelia. The black-haired knight maintains a stoic and professional gaze while assessing the situation. Meanwhile, Mary advises Alina to forget about the child for her own safety. The pink-haired princess stares back at her friend with an expression of disbelief. Mary explains that Alina shouldn't feel guilty, as she cannot break the prince's curse. She questions the logic of Alina living with a child while still unmarried.
Alina stands to leave, but Mary insists that she remain seated and listen.
The princess explains that her bond with the prince is based on mutual need. Two massive and intimidating guards block Alina's path as she tries to exit. Mary asks where Alina thinks she is going while watching from her seat. She warns the princess not to repeat the same mistakes from 10 years ago. A memory shows younger Mary pleading with Alina to cancel her marriage ceremony. Younger Mary looks on with deep concern and fear for her friend's future. Alina refuses to leave, determined to fulfill her duty to her kingdom and parents. Mary notes how Alina spent a decade in a tower before becoming a mother. Observing her friend's sacrifice 10 years ago caused Mary to choose a different path. She recalls running away from the castle to find work and survive alone. Mary remembers the bloody battles she fought to secure her own personal freedom. In the present, Mary sits confidently, surrounded by her loyal and formidable gang. She stares intently, her face reflecting the cold and rational life she chose. A repetitive bang-bang sounding follows as Alina demands to be released immediately.
Outside the door, Ted hears the princess's groan sounding, but refuses to help. The wolfman insists that Mary is only acting in the princess's best interest. He recalls how Mary saved his crew when they were abandoned and hopeless. Alina offers a cynical smile, questioning if Mary truly believes this is right.
She reflects on her past life as a bride versus her current difficult journey.
Noah appears in a vision as Alina recalls meeting him for the first time.
Alina admits that her life is the complete opposite of Mary's rebellious existence.
A thought bubble reveals that Alina cannot be forced to follow Mary's desires.
The princess remains defiant, declaring that she has no regrets about her life. Alina wakes with a quick nod sounding, realizing she had accidentally fallen asleep. A sudden crash and smash sounding from the next room startles the princess. Mary swings the door open with a loud slam sounding while calling for Alina. With a quick toss sounding, she hands Alina a cloak and orders an escape.
Mary instructs everyone to stay quiet and sneak out through the back way.
Alina reacts with a quick rush sounding as she questions the sudden raid.
A voice suddenly calls out for the princess, causing the women to stop.
Noah appears in the doorway, shocked to be addressed as the prince.
Alina reaches for the boy as a sudden grab sounding halts her progress. Mary grips Alina's arm tightly and begs her not to leave the room.
With tears in her eyes, Mary pleads for Alina to seek real freedom.
Noah urges the princess to hurry and come with him before it's too late.
Alina reacts with a quick turn, sounding as she looks at the prince.
Mary pleads with Alina one last time to choose her over the prince.
The sound of a firm step sounding echoes as the group turns in surprise toward the doorway.
Prey, the black-haired knight in silver armor, stands before them and mentions the kingdom of Aurelia.
The pink-haired princess stares at her childhood friend with wide, shocked eyes. A metallic clink sounding follows as the knight bows, stating he was ordered to bring her home.
Alina whispers the knight's name as he remains kneeling in a show of absolute loyalty.
With a sudden stand sounding, Mary rises and declares that the princess will not be returning home. Mary offers a taunting smile, mocking Prey's promotion to knight commander and questioning his skill.
Alina frantically tries to stop the two from fighting, suggesting they all sit and talk instead.
The small boy looks hesitant and begins to fidget as Mary invites him to join them.
With a warm hug sounding, Louis rushes to Alina while she asks if he was worried.
Prey finds the situation unbelievable while the blonde boy demands to know what is going on.
The scene shifts to a table laden with food as Mary suggests they eat despite the hour.
Mary rests her chin on her hand, admitting she never expected to see this day come.
The blue-haired woman observes her friend, teasing Alina about how she acts like a mother now.
Alina begins introducing everyone at the table, starting with her stubborn younger sister, Mary.
Mary snaps at Louis to stop staring while the boy realizes Alina's warnings were correct.
Alina introduces Prey as her longtime friend and childhood companion, prompting the knight to bow politely.
A blushing memory reveals Prey as he used to be,
an awkward page boy with short hair. Mary reflects on the knight's transformation, noting how handsome the former page boy has become.
Alina reacts with a quick turn sounding, her face flushing as she looks away from the knight. The princess feels flustered and awkward, wondering why she cannot maintain eye contact with her old friend.
Alina introduces the blushing Louis as the brave prince who rescued her from the cursed tower.
A frantic stomp sounding follows as a memory shows the boy desperately trying to save Alina.
Prey watches Louis with a rhythmic chew sounding, finally accepting that the boy is indeed the prince.
Louis struggles to cut his steak while secretly deciding that he does not trust the knight.
A thunderous slam sounding echoes through the room as Mary strikes the table in a fit of rage.
Mary shouts her defiance, vowing that she will never allow Alina to return to their home kingdom. Prey sighs and reminds Mary that she is no longer a child who can act so stubbornly.
Mary stands and screams at the knight, reminding him of the kingdom's past cruelty toward her sister.
She warns that the kingdom will only imprison Alina again or force her into an arranged marriage.
Alina and Louis listen in stunned silence as Mary voices her deepest fears for their future.
Prey sighs and dismisses the concerns, claiming that the kingdom's old-fashioned traditions would never be repeated. The knight looks at the princess and vows that he will personally ensure her safety and freedom.
Alina stares back at him silently, her expression unreadable as she processes his heavy promise.
Mary laughs mockingly, calling Prey a glorified lapdog who has forgotten his place beneath the crown. Prey counters with a sharp insult, claiming he can provide more than a scavenger who left home.
The argument escalates into a fierce standoff as Louis watches the terrifying display of Aurelian aggression. Louis interrupts the bickering adults, asking why no one has bothered to ask for Alina's opinion. Mary rudely tells the boy to stay out of their business, but Louis stands his ground defiantly. Mary threatens to teach the boy manners while Prey apologizes to the prince for her behavior.
A thunderous enough sounding erupts as Alina finally loses her patience and screams at the group.
A sudden freeze sounding follows as the arguing trio stops instantly, paralyzed by the princess's fury. Alina calmly orders everyone to finish their meal in silence to avoid any further conflict. Everyone begins to flinch and tremble as they witness a rare and terrifying side of the princess. The group sits in an oppressive and awkward silence while the blonde boy feels physically ill. Louis looks at the black-haired knight, acknowledging that Prey actually helped rescue the princess earlier. Prey notices the boy's intense gaze and wonders nervously if he has done something to offend him. A curious twinkle-twinkle sounding follows as the boy continues to stare at the knight with interest. A soft click-clack sounding follows as Alina leads the exhausted boy toward his bedroom for the night. As they reach the door, a sudden step sounding follows as someone calls out to the princess. The black-haired knight asks the princess if they can speak privately for a moment. Alina tells the prince to go on ahead, promising to join him shortly. A soft click sounding follows as the yawning boy enters his room and shuts the door. The pink-haired princess looks back at the knight, curious about what he wants to discuss. A moment of profound silence follows as the two characters stare at each other. Prey shakes off the awkwardness, claiming that his previous thought was actually not very important. He admits he hasn't had a proper chance to speak with her and asks how she is. The princess stares back at him with a look of pure shock and confusion. A series of enthusiastic whack sounding follows as Alina praises the knight's handsome appearance. Prey rubs his neck and reveals that he is currently unmarried and does not have a girlfriend. The knight looks intently at the princess, declaring that he has been waiting for her all along. A chibi Alina celebrates the knight's loyalty, marveling at how a handsome man stayed single. A repetitive thump sounding follows as Alina clutches her chest, feeling her heart racing. A soft bump sounding follows as the princess wonders why she feels so nervous around an old friend. She concludes that his appearance is simply her type, which is why her heart won't stop fluttering. A sharp, startled sounding follows as the princess is pulled out of her romantic daydream. A sudden dash sounding follows as Alina rushes to find the prince crying out in distress. The blonde boy sits in bed, crying out for his mother with tears streaming down his face.
Alina leans over the prince, asking if he has suffered through another terrible nightmare.
A soft pat-pat sounding, followed by a squeeze sounding, occurs as the princess pulls the boy into a hug. She looks on with concern, wondering what could have possibly caused him to cry so much. A repetitive whine sounding follows as the boy clings to Alina, acting much like a small child. The princess suspects that the prince's inner child is manifesting while he is in this vulnerable state. She notes that his behavior during nightmares is actually getting worse than it was before. Alina grows fearful, wondering if the prince's mental age is starting to decrease over time. The next morning, the blonde boy looks bewildered when asked if he remembers crying last night. A stubborn humph sounding follows as the prince denies acting like a baby, claiming he would never whine. The pink-haired princess looks concerned, asking if he truly has no memory of the previous night's events. The boy insists he doesn't even remember having a dream and questions if she was the dreamer. Alina offers a small, uncertain smile, wondering if she really did misinterpret the entire situation. Narration explains that they decided to stop discussing the princess's return to the kingdom for now. The next day, the group's internal conflict continues as Mary and the prince argue once again. Alina remains in a pensive silence while the blonde boy watches her from a short distance away. The princess looks deeply troubled, her expression reflecting the weight of the decision she must eventually make. Meanwhile, the knights and the gang members pass the time by playing cards and relaxing together. A quiet hee-hee sounding follows as the chibi crew members enjoy what feels like a holiday. A sudden reach sounding follows as a man grabs a drink and asks Prey about the princess. Prey admits that she hasn't decided yet, but insists he will not force her into a choice. He watches the door with a determined gaze, willing to wait until she is truly ready. The other man sighs, noting that everyone likely already knows what the final outcome will be. A loud slap sounding, followed by a swish sounding, occurs as Mary ends a conversation and walks away. A memory shows the two sisters playing together as children, highlighting their lifelong bond. Narration notes that parting ways with her sister will be incredibly difficult for the princess.
The blonde boy stands nearby, looking toward the princess as he senses her internal struggle. A thought bubble questions if the princess is truly ready for the outrage awaiting them in Aurelia. A repetitive tremble sounding follows as the small boy's hands shake while he tries to open a jar. A sudden groan sounding follows as the prince exerts all his strength without moving the lid. A sudden slide sounding follows as the boy asks Prey to help him with the stuck jar. A repetitive blah blah sounding follows as the prince makes long-winded excuses for his lack of strength.
The prince looks away and blushes as he offers a quiet thank you to the knight commander.
Louis stares with twinkling eyes at the sweating knight as he holds a jar. Alina calls for Mary, who bluntly states she has no desire to talk. Mary lets out a heavy sigh, sounding as Alina pleads for her to listen. Alina tells her sister to leave if she must, causing Mary to pause.
With a dismissive wave sounding, Mary tells Alina to go back home.
Alina asks her sister to look at her while they have this difficult conversation.
A soft drip drip sounding follows as the blue-haired woman begins to cry. Mary sobs with a drip drip sounding, asking if the boy is more important.
Alina hugs Mary, telling her that the prince and Mary are both precious.
A memory shows the young sisters playing music together, bound by their shared childhood.
Narration explains how Alina began to rebel against the kingdom's strict and ancient traditions.
The sisters grew distant as their views on the kingdom's rigid rules eventually diverged.
Murmur, murmur sounding fills the palace as nobles gossip about the difficult young princess.
Mary remembers calling her sister a puppet while Alina struggled under her royal duty.
Present Alina tearfully admits she understands that Mary only ever wanted to be free.
Alina notes that Mary has found her own happiness with her rowdy crew members.
A soft sniffle sounding follows as Alina reflects on her passive life in the castle.
The princess smiles warmly, telling Mary that she has finally found her own happiness. Alina gently explains that they do not need to be identical to love each other.
A soft wipe sounding follows as Alina tells Mary to believe in their shared happiness. The two sisters share a luminous embrace, finally finding peace in their sisterly bond.
A creak sounding follows as Louis peeks into a room to find the knight. Prey apologizes for startling the boy after Louis lets out a sudden eek sounding.
The knight commander reveals that he specifically came to speak with the young prince. Prey sits down as Louis reminds him that this room is not his home.
A repetitive shake sounding follows as Louis trembles while trying to pour milk.
A frantic panic sounding follows as Louis spills milk and begins to babble nervously. Prey asks the boy if he would consider staying behind instead of traveling back.
The young boy stares back at the knight with an expression of pure shock.
Louis asks the man if he is being excluded from the return trip home. Prey explains that the entire kingdom will be watching the princess's every move. He warns that there will be immense public interest in the princess's future husband. A vision shows Alina standing as a bride beside a tall, shadowed noble fiancé. Prey asks the boy how the kingdom will react to seeing a child prince. He warns that his presence will destabilize the entire social and political royal structure.
The boy insists that a royal sorcerer back home can surely break his curse.
Prey explains that the witch's dark magic is far stronger than any royal sorcerer.
The blonde boy's face falls as he realizes the gravity of his difficult situation. Prey acknowledges the bond they formed while traveling together through the harsh wilderness. He urges the boy to reconsider his choice for the sake of Alina's future. A soft wobble sounding follows as Louis rejects the offer of a monetary reward.
A repetitive sniffle sounding follows as the boy cries, saying Alina is his everything.
Prey reminds the heartbroken boy that the princess has much more at stake. A soft wipe sounding follows as Louis greets Alina, who enters holding a candle.
Alina joyfully announces that their plans are settled and they are finally going home.
A soft squeeze sounding follows as Alina pulls the quiet boy into a hug. A soft sniffle sounding follows as Louis thinks he can do anything with her. A soft squeeze sounding follows as Louis realizes he wants to depend on her. A sudden turn sounding follows as Louis calls out to the princess with tears. A soft clasp sounding follows as Louis hugs her, feeling like a useless burden. The pink-haired princess pets the blonde boy's head, teasing him for acting more like a child. A soft shake sounding follows as Alina tries to wake the sleeping prince the next morning. A sudden wish sounding follows as the princess excitedly pulls the covers off the boy. The blonde boy sits up in bed, rubbing his eyes and wondering what is happening.
The prince lets out a sudden scream of pure horror as he notices something wrong. A soft shake sounding follows as Alina asks her yellow slime if it caused the mess. A repetitive tremble sounding follows as the humiliated boy realizes he has wet the bed. The prince is overcome with shame that the princess had to see his childish accident. Alina looks deeply troubled, chewing on her finger as she reflects on the worsening situation. She tells the boy to wash up while she cleans the bedding and finds fresh clothes. The blonde boy sits in a wooden bathtub, lamenting his inability to control his own body. He recalls the princess's worried expression, fearing that she is now genuinely afraid of him. A soft slosh sounding follows as Alina stomps on the soiled linens in a tub. A repetitive squish sounding follows as she wrings out the heavy, wet laundry. The princess notes that the boy must have been equally surprised by his involuntary regression. Alina fears that the boy's inner child is beginning to take over his conscious mind. She watches the prince's back, finally admitting to herself that he is regressing into a child. A repetitive clap sounding follows the announcement that they are leaving for Aurelia in 2 days. The blue-haired woman excitedly plans an epic send-off party for her sister's final night. Mary notices the tense atmosphere between the princess and the young boy sitting at the table. She teases the blonde boy, asking if he got in trouble with his older sister again. Mary warns them that she will cancel the trip if they continue to act so miserable. The princess and the boy sit in a heavy silence, both appearing deeply anxious and distracted. A soft creak sounding follows as Prey leaves the room after finishing his conversation. The blonde boy is filled with dread as he realizes he must make a choice soon. A soft squeeze sounding follows as the prince tries to ask the princess a serious question.
Alina stands up and tells the boy she needs to speak with Prey alone for a moment.
A heavy thud sounding follows as the door closes, leaving the boy alone with his thoughts. The boy worries that Alina is avoiding him because of his humiliating accident that morning. He fears that the Knight Commander is currently telling the princess to leave him behind. The scene shifts to the bustling party as the crew prepares for the final celebration. A loud clink sounding follows as the partygoers cheer and raise their heavy wooden mugs.
A repetitive chatter and ha sounding fills the tavern during the rowdy celebration.
A soft chug sounding follows as a lavender-skinned elf forces a man to keep drinking.
A man notes that his green-skinned companion is friendly to everyone when he is intoxicated.
A soft scan sounding follows as Mary searches the crowded room for her missing sister.
Mary asks the Knight Commander if he has seen the princess or the young boy lately. She complains about Alina acting like a mother instead of enjoying her own farewell party.
A sudden turn sounding follows as Mary prepares to head back into the noisy celebration. Mary warns Prey that his hesitation is causing him to lose everything to a 5-year-old. A sudden sprint sounding follows as the panicked princess rushes in to find her sister and Prey.
Alina cries out in terror, announcing to the group that the prince has completely vanished.
Mary tries to downplay the situation, but Alina reveals that the boy's belongings are also gone. The princess is frozen in shock, wondering where the young boy could have possibly gone. Prey admits to the 2 women that he specifically told the prince to stay behind.
Alina yells at the knight, questioning how he could say something so cruel to the boy.
A soft drip sounding follows as the princess sobs, fearing she has broken the boy's heart. Mary tells her sister to stay calm, insisting they can still find the boy nearby. A soft sniffle sounding follows as a man carries the crying blonde boy back into the building. The prince sits on the floor outside the door, looking completely miserable and defeated. Louis admits he was too scared of the dark to leave. A soft sniffle sounding follows. The blonde boy cries into his hands, explaining that he cannot bear to be alone anymore. A soft drip sounding follows as the boy promises to behave and avoid future accidents. The blonde boy begs the tearful princess to let him come along. Mary gives the boy a quick flick sounding on the forehead and scolds his childish behavior. Mary questions why her sister would ever consider leaving the boy behind. In a flashback, Mary questions if the boy's mind is regressing along with his physical body. Alina wonders if the boy's regression might actually heal his past trauma. Mary explains that the princess actually plans to officially adopt the boy into the family. Mary notes that the kingdom's leaders will be shocked, but the boy's importance is clear. A soft sniffle sounding follows as the boy admits his fear of the royal kingdom. Mary explains that the boy feared losing the princess's affection to her many other admirers. Alina explains that her homeland offers the boy a much better environment for his future. The tearful princess insists that returning home would be meaningless without the young boy. Alina recalls how the boy's adult form saved her and gave her a new life.
The princess and the boy stand together under a warm, glowing light. A soft choke sounding follows as Alina tells the boy he is her most precious treasure. The princess vows to protect the prince against any who oppose him.
A soft squeeze sounding follows as Alina urges the boy to trust her deep feelings.
A repetitive sniffle sounding follows as Alina holds the boy while the knight watches silently.
Prey apologizes for his interference and for causing such a painful misunderstanding between them. The knight commander requests a chance to escort them back to the kingdom of Aurelia.
A soft sniff sounding follows as the boy forgives the knight for his misguided protection.
The princess holds the crying boy close as they find emotional resolution.
A repetitive clap-clap sounding follows the news that the conflict has finally been resolved.
Mary claps her hands and announces that the farewell celebration can officially begin now. Repetitive ha-ha sounding laughter fills the tavern as the group enjoys their final night.
The prince eats happily while the princess enjoys the warm tavern atmosphere. The two sisters share a final, heartfelt hug before their paths diverge.
Alina asks her sister to send letters to her and their worried parents regularly.
Mary tells her sister to stop worrying and focus on her own future instead. Mary teases the boy one last time while he grumpily insists he isn't a child.
The sisters stand side by side, finding peace in their shared understanding.
The princess and the boy wave farewell from their carriage as they depart. A soft blow sounding follows as the boy comforts the princess with a pat-pat.
The young boy reminds the crying princess that they will eventually see Mary again.
The princess smiles through her tears, comforted by the young boy's wisdom. Prey smiles while anticipating the strong reactions from the princess's sister and parents.